can we try to get Doug Barry to come to do his BR Coalition talk? And it opened up the door to get Doug here. And instead of making it a Men on Fire event, it's open to everybody, and it just evolved into a mission and conference, which we're here to experience. Tonight's talk and tomorrow night will be on spiritual, mental preparedness in this spiritual warfare battle that we're all engaged in. Saturday will be more of a physical preparedness talk. I know that many of you are familiar with the BR Coalition that Doug is doing and are very interested in that. He'll probably talk about some of that tonight and tomorrow, but that will be the focus on Saturday. I had the pleasure of hanging out with Doug today down at Ave Maria Radio and having an opportunity to hear him talk, and he's just such a passionate speaker, as you're going to find out. He's been involved in ministry and apostolate work for over 30 years, like 34, 35 years, something like that. He used to do, some of you may know, he formed an apostolate called Radix. He did these passion plays. He traveled around the country doing passion plays. He had his show on still does, on EWTN, Battle Ready on EWTN. He did Life on the Rock on EWTN for years. Now he does the Grace Force podcast. Fantastic. He does that with Richard Heilman. You can listen to that wherever you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, or however you listen to podcasts. I highly recommend the Grace Force podcast. And the BR Coalition, which is just like taking off, as many of you know, and that's why you're here. There is a basket. Actually, it's a box in the back of the church. In order to fund this, we are asking you to partner with us. And we can't do this without your participation in that. So we're just asking you to make a free will donation when you leave here tonight. And if you like tonight, then come back tomorrow and come back Saturday. And if you don't like tonight, then come back tomorrow and come back Saturday and bring with you people who you don't like. So I just want to thank you all for being here. And now our pastor here, Father John Rokas, who is just so generous and just has a heart for this, just want to introduce him now. So come on, Father John.
Well, this is very exciting. Glad you're all here tonight. One thing that I wanted to mention that Rory didn't mention, for that Saturday morning one, we will have the standard 9 o'clock Mass here. It lasts about a half hour. Afterwards, the Knights of Columbus are providing a breakfast for you. And, well, they always like to pull out all the stops. So it's going to be a grand breakfast. So start here with the bread of life, the living bread come down from heaven, and then join us for breakfast in there. And I understand that his plane does not leave till late in the night, so you can ask questions till the cows come home. So please do that. Now, I've been a prepper for quite some time now. I don't know how it started. It probably started with some Marian apparitions, various messages to talk about preparing for difficult times ahead. And then, I did buy a few things back at Y2K. I still probably have some firewood left over from that. But aside from that, I am doing little things to prep. Take, for instance, I'm carrying my multi-tool here. I think there's about 8 or 9 tools on that thing. If you get yourself in a bind, sometimes something like that can really help. What else? Okay, I have this here pen. It's a flashlight. Now, I think that our guests would probably say you need a flashlight, maybe something a little bit more powerful than that. And then I've got this other one here. It's a pen too, but it's got a little screwdriver in here, a Phillips and a regular, but there's also a level on there, so you can check to see if people are on the level. So I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. I don't want you to think too that I'm just limited to the practical stuff. I'm also prepared spiritually. I'm wearing my St. Benedict crucifix here in case we got any bad guys in here tonight. And if any of you should keel over tonight, I just want you to know I have my oils here. I'm prepared to anoint you, even to do the last rites if need be. Okay. All right. Basically, what I wanted to do is start with a prayer. Rory said pretty much all the things that we need to say, so let's begin. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good and gracious Father, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for our guest speaker and all the experiences that you've given him throughout the years. My goodness, what a diverse life you've given him so that he's able to share with us now at this difficult time in our history. Please bless him tonight, anoint his words, anoint the hearts of his listeners, make the rough places plain and the crooked straight for all of us, and continue the good work that you have begun in us, Lord. Help us to be prepared spiritually, mentally, and practically for whatever you have in store for us. We pray through Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. Now, Mr. Barry, are you out there somewhere?
Right here, Father.
There you are, Doug Barry. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. This is great. The numbers at events like this will continue to grow, I believe, as the times continue to change. And we see it every day, something new, something in the news that seems to motivate and inspire people's hearts, that we need to be taking certain preparation a little more seriously. Again, as was mentioned already, a couple main topics we'll be hitting over the next 3 days, a few main topics. 1, spiritual preparation. 2, kind of mental, mind, emotion preparation. And 3 is kind of that natural, practical, what steps do we take, food, water, shelter, defense, and so forth preparation. I know that not all of you are going to be here probably each of these presentations, though my understanding is that it was an obligation bound by pain of sin, but that's up to you. But, seriously, I'm going to address a little bit of each tonight, tomorrow night, and then everything, the whole enchilada again Saturday, because I don't want you to miss some of this stuff if you're not able to come on all 3 of them. But we do need to address some key things very importantly. Prepping, what does it mean? Preppers get a bad rap in today's world in many ways because they're looked at sometimes as the guy with the camo paint, the crazy clothes. He's going to run off into the wilderness. He's got a log cabin already out there and a whole bunch of stuff buried in the ground. And when the apocalypse happens, that's where he's going with maybe a few people that he has chosen to go with him. And they're going to make it happen. They're going to survive at all costs, just the 2 or 3 of them. And that's just the way it's going to be. And people will look at that and think, these people are a little cuckoo. They got the tinfoil hat on. And so the idea of preparedness, preparation, gets a bad rap because sometimes that's what we see it as. Then you've got Christians out there, and again, as was mentioned, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I think I'm going on 34 years now, traveling, speaking all over. And for many years, it was primarily spiritual stuff, but there was always that little natural element in there. And it was mentioned also that I've done the Passion meditation, one-man drama. Did anybody ever see the one-man drama, The Passion, that I did? Some of you have, okay. And that stopped. The phone stopped ringing. I did that for 22 to 25 years. And someone told me that I did it here before. I have been in this church? Okay. I did it outside? Oh, I hated doing it outside. It was so much harder to do outside because it was easier for people to be distracted by things around you. What I loved doing was when we would be in a church and shut all the lights off. Because when you're sitting in the dark and you're focused, I'm usually up on the steps in front of the altar, and we have 3 lights, a white one, and a red one. And my friend Eric Jennis, amazing musician, would play music on the side, and he would control the lights, and everybody sat in the dark. And then afterwards, a lot of times we had confessions available afterwards, and then we'd have sometimes Eucharistic exposition and such, and veneration of a crucifix. It was wonderful. And I looked at that as my small little voice in this world. We're all voices, right? It was my small little voice during a time of great mercy that God was offering. I was speaking at Marian conferences, Eucharistic conferences, every month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, all over the country for years. I literally have over 1 million miles on Delta Airlines alone. That's just Delta, because of all the traveling over the years. There was a time of mercy, and I think that window was closing. I really do. And I think a lot of people are getting that, what I call supernatural gut feeling, that there's something in the air that's different. Al Cresta told me that today. I was very fortunate. Rory was great enough to set up some interviews with Al Cresta and Peter Herbeck. And we had just had Peter Herbeck on our U.S. Grace Force podcast. Check that out on YouTube, Rumble, and on the audio platforms like iHeart and Spotify. And Father Richard Heilman and I have been doing it for 3.5 years. And so Peter said, hey, while you're there, Rory had connected with me. Why don't we have you come in and do some recordings? So I did some stuff for Peter's show coming up for 5 different days. And then Al Cresta, last minute, yeah, let's get him in here. And I know Al for many years, and he and I talked for a while, and he just said, Doug, it's different right now. I said, Al, you're saying the same thing that people are saying all over the country. He said he's 72 this year, he says. He says, I remember many times when our country and our world went through upheavals and struggles, but there always seemed to be some way that you felt like you were going to land on your feet. He says, it doesn't feel the same right now. He said, it feels like things are shifting under the feet now. Like we're not going to land so solidly. I think he's right. I feel the same way. And many of the guests that we have on the podcast will say the same thing. There's something different spiritually speaking, especially in our world right now. Now, Father Chad Ripperger, who's an exorcist, pretty well known, he's been on our podcast several times. And many months ago, he spoke about something that really makes it different now than it's ever been spiritually, which is why he says we need to be prepared in ways we never have been. And then to echo what Father John Harden had said, is this Father John Harden's parish? Someone told me it was. Okay. Father John Harden had said, I never met him personally. I know he passed away around 2000 or so. But he had said, you must become a heroic Catholic because ordinary Catholics will not survive what's coming. He said that years ago. Mother Angelica said to me personally, do you remember when she had the healing and her braces came off her legs? Some of you remember that story. I ended up at EWTN right after that happened, a couple days to record the Passion Meditation that EWTN would then, air every Holy Week for many years. Very humbling situation. But while I was there, Mother said, come here, honey, I'd like to talk to you. So I went into her office and we talked, and she said, what do you think? I can move better now. She did. She kind of was dancing around a little bit. I said, I heard about that. She says, isn't it wonderful? Isn't God wonderful? And then we talked about the world. And finally, after about 30 minutes, she said this. She said, Doug, things are so far gone. The only thing that's going to turn it around is divine intervention. So you hold on tight. You get ready. You fight hard from where you are because it's coming. This has been in the air for quite some time. And we know this because even the prophecies of our Blessed Mother, and I speak of church-approved prophecies. That doesn't mean that some of the ones that we hear about out there, the private revelations, locutions, and such, might not be accurate, legitimate. I don't know. I keep a lot of them at arm's length unless there is something, obviously, that deviates from the teachings of the faith, from the deposit of faith. Or if, in some way the church has said, we're unsure about this, okay, then I keep it at arm's length. But sometimes listen to them, pay enough attention to them. But these others that have been approved, Fatima, 1917, Akita, Japan, 1973, Cuapa, Nicaragua, 1980, Rwanda, 1981 to 89 for Sister Alphonsine, and then 2 other visionaries received messages and visions from 81 to 84 or so. Those 4 in particular, and there's another one, Ida Perdaman, Our Lady of All Nations, Amsterdam, late 40s, early 50s. And in all 5 of those apparitions, Our Lady warns the world of very serious consequences due to our lack of response to her urgent call for conversion. In World War, don't forget, I haven't forgotten what Father Ripperger said, in case you were wondering. What did Father say? I'm kind of building up to that. 1917, Blessed Mother appears to 3 children in Fatima, 7, 9, 10 years old. On July 13th, 1917, what does she say to these 3 children? She shows them the vision of hell. She says, this is the place where poor sinners go who have nobody to pray for them and make sacrifices for them. Remember the prayer that we're given from Fatima that we add to the end of each decade of the Rosary. Oh my Jesus, forgive us our sins, save us from the fires of hell. Lead all souls to heaven, especially those in most need of thy mercy. That's a pretty direct and clear prayer for conversion. But what else does she do on July 13th, 1917? She tells these children that there will be devotion to her Immaculate Heart for the sake of the salvation of souls. Eventually, when Sister is in the convent, later in the convent there in 1926, I believe, is when Our Lady and our Lord appear and complete the whole understanding of the 5 first Saturdays and devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. But it's initiated back then, July 13th, 1917. But the other couple things that she said that day were, Russia will spread the error of her ways if she's not consecrated to my Immaculate Heart. Now, people all over the country will ask me when I do talks just on Fatima, Doug, do you think that Russia was consecrated the right way? What do you think? I think the Pope this, and this Pope that, and this Pope that. And here's my answer. I don't know. It's really above my security clearance. All right? What they've done and how they've done it, okay, I don't know. But you know what I do know? I haven't, and I'll bet you haven't done, none of you here, what she asked everyone to do every single day to bring peace to the world and avert war. What is it? Pray the rosary. Oh, but we get so bored sometimes with the rosary, don't we? Because it's so time-consuming. 15 to 20 minutes out of my day. I'd have to stop binge watching some stuff on TV. I'd have to not, spend time out in the garden so much. Pray the rosary while you're in the garden. You know what I'm saying, though? She warned us so seriously in 1917. But the other thing that she said was, if man does not stop offending God, there will be a second and much more terrible war. Now, World War I was going on. It ended in 1918. So 1917, it's nearing the end. It was the most devastating war. They called it the Great War, not because it was great, but because it was so massive. And they called it the war to end all wars. And they said, many people in the world at that time, you can read the accounts, we will never, ever do this again. You know how long it took before the next one came? About 21 years. From the warning in Fatima. From 1918 to 1938, you got about 20 years, right? You got 20 years roughly in there. And then World War II. The death toll by the end of World War I, it varies depending upon your historical reading. But in general, 25 to 30 million. Over half civilian. The death toll by the end of World War II, more than double that. 65 to 70 million estimated, depending upon the account that you read. In other words, it was far, far worse in death toll alone. Not to mention concentration camps, not to mention the medical research that they did on people. Dr. Mengele, the angel of death in Nazi Germany, did. All of that far, far more twisted and demented. And then, of course, the atom bomb, which has led to where we are now in the nuclear age. Our Lady warned us, though, if you don't stop offending God, you're going to get the consequences of these things. It wasn't if you don't negotiate a better treaty, if you don't have a better 401k, if you don't make sure that your team wins a national championship. All these things that many of us, while those things have their place, many people make those things their gods. So spiritually, there's this deprivation, this emptiness, which leads to disorder and chaos every single time throughout all of history. There's no way around it. So Our Lady warns in 1917. And a little known fact about Our Lady of Fatima, it was revealed in 1957 in an interview that Sister Lucia gave to, I believe his name was Father Fluentus. But in this interview, she says in all 6 apparitions, because Lucia, of course, I know many of you know this, but for those who might not be aware, Lucia was the oldest. She was 10. She is the cousin of the brother and sister, Jacinta, 7, and Francisco, 9. All right? And both of them have since been canonized. Lucia, not yet. But she said, not once in those 6 apparitions did me or my cousins ever see Mary smile. Our Lady didn't smile to them about this. She was warning the world. In World War II, the consequences of it, devastating. Russia spreading the error of her ways, not just a communist government, godlessness, immorality, destruction of anything and everything holy and sacred. We have seen what was warned about in 1917 unfold in our lifetimes. Now, let's bring into this picture the fact that we have also seen things within the church really hurt and struggle. We have seen, I'm not going to attack anybody. I'm not attacking the papacy. I'm not attacking the priests. I'm not. But we have seen a lot of men and women, nuns and so forth, become very complicit with regards to things that are very destructive in our culture, in our faith. We have seen a watering down and then some of many of the general basics of our faith. It has really caused a traumatic impact on so many levels. In 1950s or so, the divorce rate in America was approximately 10%. The divorce rate now, 50, 60%, but the rate of those getting married in their 20s, dropping considerably. They're not interested very much in relationships that are long-lasting like marriage. Some aren't even dating anymore. They're getting their fulfillment online. Some of that is pornographic, yes, and some of it is now becoming AI. And AI, artificial intelligence, if you think you can avoid it, you can't. It's already here. If you have Siri or Alexa, that's a form of AI. And it's only going to increase to the point where even Elon Musk has come out publicly and said in an interview recently with Tucker Carlson, former host of the Tucker Carlson Show on Fox News, which is a whole other secular indicator of where we are with things. But even in that interview, Elon Musk used the term regarding AI as civilizationary destruction. In other words, the destruction of our society, of our world. And he himself said that people like the head of Google and others are looking to make AI an unstoppable beast because they're so excited. It's not a question of should we, it's can we. It's not a question of is this good for people, it's a question of can we actually make it happen for people. To the point where AI, and again, Musk uses this example. I'm not a big Musk fan, but I think he brings a little bit of common sense to this since he is in the field. He helped get some of this started many, many years ago. And he uses the example of you're making a road and you got anthills in the way. You just got to get the anthills out of the way because you're making a road. And it's not as if AI is going to have that dastardly attitude and say, you people are in my way. AI will be, AI has been programmed to further itself, and if humans get in the way, they will simply be discarded like an anthill. And we can't imagine that would happen. We can't, some people. Normalcy bias is killing us. No, that would never happen. They just won't let, who's they? No, they just won't let that, who's they? No, they won't. They would never program it to, really? They as in what? People in the federal government? Who support and do everything possible to make sure that abortion is safe, legal, and available? And extract our tax dollars to make sure that they can provide it for anybody? The same government that has gotten to the point now of putting policies in place to make sure that we can mutilate children through transgender surgery and call it gender-affirming health care. When you've got a governor in Minnesota, and it's already happening in Colorado as well, at least these two states, and I don't even know how many others are working on it, that have made their states sanctuary states for those who have gender-affirming health care surgeries. Even the Pentagon came out and said, the Pentagon, that they'll back military, medical procedures and everything, will back a child even at the age of 7 who thinks that they need puberty blockers or surgery. You cannot become more distorted in thinking than to look in the mirror and say, I am a different sex and I want to mutilate my body and change it that way. Now, am I putting those people down? Not at all. Does my heart go out to them? Yes. Am I a hater now and hate speech? Not one inch. I care about each and every creation of God. He has breathed His image and likeness into every single one of us. But when we start to mistreat that and twist it and think we can call it this and call it that, and then the policies get to the point where if you speak out about it, then you can be brought up on charges as a hater. And if there would happen to be a federal government plant in this church hearing me talk this way, recording it, you darn right they could come after me. That's where we are. And there's no way out of this except for what Mother Angelica said, divine intervention. So Father Chad Ripperger, in our podcast, said there are people who think that things are bad, yeah, but they've always been bad. And he says, I'll tell you as an exorcist, it's different now. And the reason it's different is simply this, and this is roughly how he explains it. He says there are 5 top demons that sit at what they refer to as the table. some exorcists, not all, but some that he interacts with will refer to the table. This would be kind of like Satan's war room table. So you got Satan and his 5 top henchmen, as if you would have Hitler, and then you've got Goebbels and all the different top Nazis who were involved in the final solution. These top 5 demons, and I don't even like to mention their names, but they're the ones from the Old Testament in particular, like, for example, Baal, reject him, of course, in the name of Jesus. All the human sacrifice, and then the demons that go along with them. All 5 of them, in general, have to do with human sacrifice or the perversion of the human body, men loving men, women loving women, distortion of your own gender, sexual impurities, twisted stuff, all of this. These top 5 demons, that's what their main line of work is, you could say. And Father put it this way: never in the history of man have we seen a society legalize the behavior of these top 5 demons, especially like we've done in the United States of America now. There is a lawmaker, transgender lawmaker, biological he, who in Minnesota right now wants to change the wording in the Human Rights Act and change it so that it removes any wording that in any way sounds like it's anti-pedophile. Even though he says this does not in any way change the laws regarding the behavior if a pedophile hurts a child, but we don't want to discriminate and we don't want to stigmatize them with any title, because it's simply their sexual orientation. It's what they're drawn to. So it's no longer looked at as a disorder. We've got Dylan Mulvaney, Bud Light. Did anybody see what Kid Rock did about all that? Okay. Maybelline's on board now with Dylan Mulvaney. I mean, we've got these people out there, and they are funding these people who are looking in the mirror, and this Dylan Mulvaney thinks he's like a 13-year-old girl. Okay, the problem is not just that the poor man, and I say poor man because inside his heart, the soul that God breathed into him, this is not the order that God wants. Our Lord does not want any of us to have that kind of disorder or dysfunction, no matter what it is that any of us are struggling with. God doesn't want that. And there's so many factors to discuss. Oh, I think it's this, I think it's that. I honestly don't know. It is off the rails, though. But one of the things that indicates how really bizarre this has become and how dangerous it's become is how many people actually are supporting it. It's kind of like when you see a politician out there. Politicians running for office. That politician's pro-abortion. Well, that's bad. That politician is pro-destruction of family and this and that, pro-contraception. Okay, that's all bad. Okay, well, we pray for the politician. But then when you got a bunch of people that votes for the politician, I'm thinking, where are you people at? So it's all of us. Therein again, let's go back to that statement from the Blessed Mother about praying the rosary. All of us. How often? Every day. I don't feel like it, Doug. I don't always either. Yeah, but it's boring sometimes. Yeah, sometimes it can feel that way. Because my human capacity of distraction is great. I can be distracted very easily and get bored very easily by something that doesn't sound and look exciting, because our whole world is filled with bells and whistles and shiny objects. And if we don't have those bells, whistles, and shiny objects, we get bored quickly. We decide to move on to something else. That's why we'll sit there with DirecTV or Dish Network or whatever you have and just keep changing the channel. Right? Look at this. This is even old-fashioned. Because now it's 2, 3, 4. Because now you can talk to your TV. You have smart TVs. They'll change the channel for you. You don't have to get out of your luxury couch anymore. You don't even have to get it. You have to change your thermostat. You can say, Alexa, put it on 78 degrees. Everything has become easy and distractible. We are so distracted. And a lot of that is going to be taken away from us very soon, I believe. And I've heard this from several people who are praying deeply. They're very in touch of spiritual language. When I call it that, I mean, we have natural language. I'm talking to you. You could talk to me. That's natural language. Spiritual language is that language when you're on your knees in front of our Lord. Or you could be at home sitting on the edge of your bed in this posture. Anybody ever do this posture? I do it every day. It's a posture that basically says, Lord, I have no clue what I'm doing sometimes. Lord, please, I want to hear you. I need to hear you. It's that dialogue. It's that Jeremiah's interior crisis moment. Remember Jeremiah, the Old Testament prophet, who at one point says, you duped me, O Lord, and I let myself be duped, tricked. You were too strong for me. Now everywhere I go, I am the object of derision. They mock me, they laugh at me, they look for a misstep so they can pounce on me. I will not preach your name anymore. I have had it. I am done. You ever had those moments? Oh, I have them sometimes. Right? But as a friend of mine said, don't worry, Doug. God's a big boy. He can handle us. Right? He means that as respectfully as you can. God is not intimidated or shaken by you and I going, I've had it. God's not going, oh no, I'm sorry. That's not God. God is like, here we go again. We've heard this before, haven't we? Oh yeah. Remember Noah? Yeah. Oh yeah, that whole ark thing. He was pretty upset about that thing. A lot of splinters dropping wood on your feet. Oh, it's tough. Yeah. But that's not what we're after, right? We're after his will. So what does Jeremiah eventually say? But then, this is one of my favorite verses ever. After he's complaining, I just can't do this anymore. But then it becomes like fire, burning in my heart. It is imprisoned in my bones. I grow weary holding it in. I must, he says. We need to be at that point right now. With everything in our world happening like it is, spiritually, to be prepared, we need to be at that point. And it's not something that we choose to make happen. It is a gift from God. But what God needs us to choose to do for him to inspire our hearts to be at that point is give him permission. Lord, I give you permission. Just enter in and do what you have to do in here and in here. Lord, I can see around me what's going on. Please conform me, transform me, so that I can be ready to go where you want me to go and do what you want me to do when you want me to do it, so that I can hear your voice. I know a man who recently said to me, he said, I was praying Holy Thursday night. You know, when we process after the Mass out of the church into a chapel or a side room somewhere, and it's reposing the Blessed Sacrament because Jesus is now being led off to prison and so forth. And he said, I was kneeling and I was praying and I was running down the litany of my prayers. We all have our litany, right? You know, I'm praying for so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and then there's this and that. And don't forget, I'd like some hair back, and there's this and this and this, you know. We go to, you too? Yeah. And so half the men in the church are like, is that working? Because I'm not getting it. All right. And this man is praying this, and all of a sudden he said he heard God say, silence. And he thought, oh yeah, it's my imagination. And he kept praying it. And all of a sudden he heard it again. I said, be silent. And he stopped and thought, okay, I'm not familiar with that voice. He said this voice was so unique and gave him such deep peace that he knew this was not from him. And so he just sat and listened. And there was silence at times, and then there were things said to him. He said things that were personal to his life, and there were things that were encouraging, and there were things that were serious and real. And so he kind of went through this moment. It went on for 40, 45 minutes, he said at that time. He spent an hour in adoration, he said that night. And then fast forward a couple days later, Easter Sunday, he was at Mass and he was praying, and he was questioning whether or not he had really heard that. And he thought, I'm going to try to initiate that conversation again and see if that's God. And so he starts kind of, hey, Lord, are you there? You know, those moments. And all of a sudden, he heard very clearly two sentences. He heard, know this voice. Remember my voice. He hasn't heard anything since then. I talk with him regularly. Hasn't heard anything since then. But he said it was so different. And he'll tell you, if he were to ever open up and talk about it, I believe with all my heart, God is touching me and many other people with this get ready sort of sense. Now, Peter Herbeck said something very similar on our podcast. We interviewed him on U.S. Grace Force podcast recently. And on that podcast, he said he was in Uganda. He was on a mission trip. It's all public, so I can talk about this. Peter's not the man, by the way. It's someone different. But Peter's saying, I was in Uganda a couple days, jet lag, really wearing on him. He couldn't figure out why he was so tired. And nothing was helping him. And so he felt there was some oppression going on, or God was allowing some sort of ripping of the consolation away, making things this kind of dry desert moment. And so he went through some prayer with some of the friends there on the team, and then he felt better, went to Mass, everything felt great. He was like, okay. Then he feels like God's going to speak to him, and then he said, then God did speak to me, but he didn't say what I thought he'd say. He didn't say something like, hey, get into that mission work and let's go get this done. Attaboy, you can do it. What he heard was in a nutshell. And you remember, Rory, you were there when he was reminding us today of it, if you heard him. He said, because I said, what were those 4 words that you heard Jesus say to you? He said, Jesus first said, I'm getting up out of my throne. And in so many words, and I'm coming. And the idols will be torn down. Now, I've heard that statement, idols will be torn down, from several other people in other scenarios. People are getting the sense that God is going to make a change. We are going to know who he is very clearly. No one's going to be able to mistake it. When and how? That's all entirely up to our Lord, of course. But then I said, what were the 4 words you mentioned I forgot on the podcast? And he said, rage. He said, you will see, Jesus said to him, rage, chaos, apostasy, and confusion. But all of this is necessary in order for us to understand order. Paraphrasing some of what Peter said there. Rage, chaos, apostasy, and confusion. Those are the 4 things that Jesus told him. Again, I'm hearing this from a lot of people. There's that gut feeling. Anybody got that gut feeling? That things are different? Let me ask you this question. Maybe you've heard on October 13th, 1917, Our Lady of Fatima, that the final miracle that was seen there, that we saw, that was publicized and accounted, was the spinning of the sun. People looking at the sun, it was spinning in the sky. Everything was wet because it had been raining for a day or so, whatever, before. And there are pictures of people with umbrellas at one picture, and then the next picture, they're all looking up at the sun. You've seen some of these probably. People that saw the sun. It was spinning in the sky. It was coming towards the earth and pulling back. They saw images of our Blessed Mother holding baby Jesus. They saw Jesus as an adult man blessing the world. They saw St. Joseph. They saw the whole Holy Family. They saw rose petals coming to the ground in different colors. And everything, their clothes, the ground, all dried up like that. This all happened October 13th, 1917. The miracle of the sun. Since then, as I've been traveling around the country for over 33 or so years now, I have heard people constantly come up to me and say, guess what? I'm seeing the sun. I say, what do you mean? Oh, no, I see the sun sometimes. What are you talking about? I go out and look at it. I just stare at it in the middle of the day. It doesn't hurt my eyes. It looks like a perfect disc is covering it. Intense fire right on the edge of it. You feel like if the disc was removed, your whole face would be eviscerated. It's that intense. Colors coming off of it sometimes. This is stuff I hear. Sometimes coming off and coming. One person said, coming to the ground like the handle of a monstrance. And so I started to ask, and I've done this for years now, events like this. Is there anybody in this church tonight who has been blessed to ever see the miracle of the sun? Raise your hand if you have. Yeah. I know some of you are amazed by it. Some are like, oh, whoa. I was talking to a good friend of mine recently, and he said, I've never even heard of that. Well, I've been seeing it too. I saw it years ago driving down Interstate 80, my 15-passenger van, heading west, about 3 in the afternoon. I'm looking up, all my members that were working for me in my group were addicts in the back, and all of a sudden, whoa! People in the back, what? The sun! I'm seeing the sun! I pulled off the side of the interstate right away, don't worry. I pulled off right away and just sat there, and I'm staring at it 3, 4, 5 minutes. Not one problem with my eyes. Now, a couple of the members had already seen it, so they were like, oh, okay. And they lay back down in the back seat, or go back to their reading. I'm like, oh, yeah, fine. And since then, I've seen it dozens of times. And I don't talk about this publicly, and I didn't for years, because I felt uncomfortable doing that. And I've had many people who, some will put their hands up, like many of you did, but then others will come up to me afterwards and say, yeah, I didn't want to say it, but I've been seeing the sun too. Until recently, someone said to me, and it was a very spiritual moment when someone said to me, they felt like God was revealing something about me through them, and they said to me, you need to take more risks on some of these things because you're seeing things and hearing things and you're not talking about it enough. And I thought, oh, really? And then they said some other things that kind of confirmed that sense that I was getting. And so I thought, okay, I got to start talking about it more. I've been seeing the sun sometimes every other day for the last several months. I can be driving down the road and look up, and there it is. I'll pull over. I'll be at a red light. I'll be at a stop sign. I'll be in my backyard, and there it is. And my wife sometimes will be driving with me, and she'll look over, and she'll say, are you seeing it again? I am. And she'll look up. Okay, well, I'm not, And then there are times when I've tried to initiate it to test it because I'm one of those people with the thick head that just says to God, okay, really, And there are times, I'll see if I can see the sun. No, I can't see the sun. And you get the white spots in your eyes for the next 10 minutes, just one glance. No, this is where I'm sitting there looking at it and watching it. And there's this like vibrating disc right in the middle. And this edge that looks like this intense flame that if you pulled it away, you'd be eviscerated. And sometimes colors are flying off of it. I live in Texas, out by Tyler, Bishop Strickland's diocese now. And I moved there from Nebraska. So I fly into Dallas-Fort Worth a lot. And so one time I got off the airplane, this was several months ago. I got off the airplane, got on the Skylink, the tram that goes around the top part of Dallas-Fort Worth. And it was about 4 in the evening. When was this? This was in the fall, I think. And I look over, and there it is. And I'm looking at it as a writing. And I get down, and I go to a gate and sit on the benches that are facing out the window. And I'm just watching it for several minutes, and I saw red start to come off of it. And it just kind of vibrates, this red color coming off of it. I'd never seen red before. And the feeling that I was always having in the past when I would see it was a feeling of consolation. Like, wow, this is great. Neat little spiritual moment. Connected to Fatima miracle. This is so awesome. And that's not what I get anymore. Now, I'm just lowly little sinner me, so don't take anything I'm saying that seriously. But I'm just telling you my personal account of this. I've been seeing the sun off and on for probably 20 years. And only now has it been regularly. In the past, it was every 6 months, maybe once a year, and it was just very sporadic and a consolation feeling. Now, it is so much more frequently. It's almost like I'm driving down the road and there's a tap on the shoulder to look over at it. Not a physical tap, but there's that sense like, hey, come on. And now the feeling is not consolation. Now the one word that I describe it when I tell my wife, I saw the sun again, what'd you feel? Ominous. That's the word that comes to my mind. Something very ominous about it. I don't know what it means exactly, but I do believe that God is trying to touch us all to be better prepared spiritually speaking. Because there are things happening very quickly. A priest friend of mine, some of you might have heard of Father Altman. Anybody know Father Altman? Okay, and I like joke around Father Altman. I knew you before you were so cool and got canceled, Because I'd spoken at his parish several times over the years, and he's always very on fire. He's always been this way. This is nothing new. If you just started to hear about him or see his videos, he's always been a live wire, right? And he said to me about a year and a half ago, we were speaking at a conference out on someone's ranch, out hidden in the woods. And I'm not kidding. And it was one of those talks where the local bishop didn't want anybody to be part of it. They didn't allow them to promote it. I've been to several of those now, where they're just trying to shut certain things down here and there. And so we're out there, and he and I are having a little private conversation. He just said to me, he said, Doug, God is moving pieces around the chessboard very, very quickly now. Be ready to be moved. And he's one who will say, you need to be building your spiritual ark and your temporal ark. You need to be aware of what's happening in the world because there are things happening beyond our control. There are things in the government that are beyond our control. Maybe some of you have heard of things like a Fed coin, digital dollar, where all of our money eventually, and this is not a conspiracy, this is happening right now. They want to keep track. And I forget who the woman is. Her father was actually an advisor to Nixon. And she was at some global economic, not the World Economic Forum, but a global economic governance summit a year ago, end of March back in 2022. And I saw the video clip of her sitting on the stage before all the foreign leaders. You got the Saudis in their Arab robes and all, and then you've got the French, and they're all out there, their earbuds in, because they're getting translated stuff coming through to them. It's an international event. And she's on stage with several others on a panel talking about how we are so close to being able to keep track of every single transaction financially. Everything. Now, the French recently, a couple weeks ago, the French, you could call her Secretary of Treasury in France, she said on camera, you can look it up and find it, she said that the amount of money that they're allowed to be spending in France is €1,000, up to that cash. From 1,000 on up, it's got to be digital. If anybody tries to spend 1,000 on up, they will be fined and or imprisoned because we need to keep track of their transactions at that point. Now we're going to try to do it lower, she said, €300 to €400. All right? which translates, I think I heard the translation was like $500-600 US, something in that ballpark. And she says this is for the protection of the people because many terrorist activities had been financed at these smaller amounts, so we need to keep track of all of them. Right, these sorts of things have been going on for quite a while, and these things are being put in place. Now, last August, I was out at an event in Maryland, put on by a great guy, and he invited 45 different people to it. Protestant pastors, leaders, Father Altman happened to be there, a couple other council priests were there. I was there, some others, and I was there because of what Father Howman and I do at the U.S. Grace Force and my Be Ready Coalition, preparedness training, and he said, I want your input on this. It was a think tank conversation. So 45 people are in this room at a hotel. We had 4 days that we were all there, and you just had hour after hour of conversation. And then they had several retired intelligence officers, a couple former Green Berets, people who'd been in the government for a while, talking about a lot of things that they knew. One man had been in the U.S. government intelligence agency for 26 years before he retired. And they basically all said this, and I'll just sum it up with this: there is no way out of this except for divine intervention. And the first night it was going on was the night that Mar-a-Lago was invaded and the FBI came in and took all of Trump's files. And they brought that up right there. Oh, we just got this on the phone. This is going on. And they said, watch what happens. This will be in the press. They'll make a big deal out of it. There'll be a lot of this going on, right? A lot of this going on. Meanwhile, the uppercuts will be coming in ways we don't see. Because they'll be putting people in place in school boards, church councils, education department, you name it. Even the library. Because the people in the library will determine what books are and are not on the shelves. And they will put the Marxist, communist, godless people in those departments while we're looking at the hype of Trump, and now it's Trump being indicted, and now it's this and all this. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're still teaching CRT in schools. That's still going on. In fact, some hidden camera has discovered faculty rooms of teachers bragging about how they're still sneaking it in, even in states where it's been forbidden. They're still pushing the transgender stuff. They're still pushing all of this stuff. They're not stopping. And this is what these intelligence officers said. It's because there is no accountability. Who's going to hold them accountable? All right? Even in our faith, in our Catholic Church, we have a lot of issues and a lot of struggles where people just are not held accountable for the things that they do that are just even a little bit off or way off. So with all this going on, what does this point to? Spiritual depth of problem. We have got so much the spiritual, muck that's going on. What can we do about it? Because the last thing I want is for you all to leave here tonight and say, all right, well, by the time we finish this 3-day event, we're going to want to go kill ourselves. This is, let's just go have our final meal now, all right? Thanks for taking me, Susan. Tom, I'm sorry. I thought he would be funnier, No, but in all honesty, all seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, is there hope? Yes, there's hope. All right, is it going to be hard? Yes. Is it going to get harder? Yes. We have the greatest faith in the history of civilization, of mankind, that God gave us to the Catholic Church. We have the heroes, the Thomas Mores to the St. Lawrence. We know Thomas More, you know what he said? They report this, not report it. They recorded it, filmed it in The Man for All Seasons, that he said these words, and I love them. And if he didn't say them, I'm sure he would have, because it just sounds like him if you know anything about Thomas More. And I know enough, not a lot, but enough. This man was clever, and he used his brain, which is why he tried to stay as silent as he could with King Henry VIII, the divorce, the remarriage, and the authority issue. He wanted to stay alive as long as he could, but he wouldn't jump through certain hoops. And in the scene where his daughter comes to him and says, Father, there's an oath we have to take. What do we do? And he says, what's the wording of the oath? What does it matter, Father? You can tell who the daughter is in Thomas, right? Okay? I just want to be clear with that. Okay. But Dad, what does it matter? It matters, Meg, because maybe we can say the words without compromising our faith. So if you can be clever, be clever. Look, you don't have to walk down a street with snipers on the roof, waving a red flag, wearing a neon jacket. I'm right here, shoot me, and then I can talk about how I was shot by you. There are people doing this right now. There are social media people out there who they'll say to me sometimes, like off camera, Doug, we were deplatformed for this and that. It's like, okay, yeah, well, I think you need to say this and that. It's like, yeah, but Father Heilman and I, for example, in the Grace Force, there's certain things we won't talk about. And I edit all the podcasts, and I try to make sure certain words are carefully spoken in ways, not so that we skip issues, but so that we cannot be kicked off. Because if we're kicked off, y'all can't see it then. And last year, 2022, we were off of YouTube 7 out of 12 months. We had a 3-month infraction and a 4-month infraction, right? And it was medical misinformation for one of them. And one of them was, we had a guy on there who just hinted to the possibility that the election could have been rigged. Heaven forbid our freedom of speech would allow us to even question that. So anyway, you want to be clever. So Thomas More is clever, and he says to Meg, no, the words do matter. Because if we can say it without compromising our faith before God, then that's good. He said, Meg, these are the words, we need to use our wits to survive. But if God closes all the doors, then you die like a champion. But while you're here, don't try to get yourself taken off the battlefield. Like there are people who say to me, Doug, why aren't you more outspoken on this and this and this? And I will say, honestly, to you all, because I see others out there who are. They're doing that already. And I honestly, before the Lord, I know what he's asked me to do. I am 100% sure. How do I know that? I beg him every day to hear him. Do I hear him all the time? No. I'm going to write a book one day. And the title of it is going to be this. When I pray, I hear crickets. Anybody feel that way? Yeah. God is strangely silent sometimes, isn't he? But then sometimes when he makes it abundantly clear who he is and what he wants, boom, you feel it and you know it. I was praying before the Blessed Sacrament. I'll tell you this one. I don't hear God much. I know people who will come up to me and say, oh, I was talking today, and you know what the Lord told me? And then yesterday what he told me, and what I know he's going to tell me tomorrow, because he talks to me every day this way. Whoa, that's great. Last time I heard him was in 1968. I was 3 back then. Anyway, what happens in different hearts, amazing, okay? But for me, it's not that kind of conversation. But when I hear him, and I heard him audibly. My wife and I praying after Mass one day before the Blessed Sacrament. And everybody was leaving the church. There was no one around me at the time. We were staying after. And I heard a man's voice, very firm, very strong, right here on my left shoulder. And I heard him say, this was about 8-9 years ago, help them prepare. And I looked over because I thought someone was there. And no one was there. No one was even close. Closest guy was probably 15, 20 feet going out the door. I turned to my wife. I said, did you hear that? She said, hear what? Okay. I'm losing my mind. Or something happened. And I believe with all my heart, that's what I know I'm supposed to do. Because what is coming, I don't know. When it comes, we're seeing it unfold now. How bad it gets, we don't know. But I know in my heart, my job is to help you and others think and prepare in different ways, even a little bit. And so everybody's got to understand and pray what they feel what lane God put them in. But spiritually, we have to be better prepared. We have to be taking the steps. One of the best things we can do is follow what Our Lady has said. First and foremost, pray that rosary every day. Along with that, be getting to the sacrament of confession, reconciliation frequently. I go on average every 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, sometimes every week, depending on how the week is going, okay? Y'all know what I mean, right? But go frequently. Pray that rosary. I go to adoration throughout the week several times. Sometimes it's for an hour, sometimes it's for 5 minutes. But I know where the Catholic churches are, and you do too. And if I have to drive out of the way, 5 blocks, 10 blocks even, I will do it sometimes, knowing, oh, I can make time for him for 10 minutes? Yeah. Come in the church, kneel in the back, or come up on the front, lay on your face, whatever you got to do, and just say, Lord, I'm here. I give you permission. I give you permission, Lord. Whatever you got to do in here. Start doing these things more frequently. I fast. I'm not trying to brag. This is not what I'm doing. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to say this to try to help encourage in some way. Okay? I fast in some way, shape, or form, normally 6 days a week. Oh, that sounds amazing. No, trust me, it's not that incredible. It could be something like eat my meal an hour later, or eat half of what I was going to eat, or just drink water instead of, a soft drink or tea or whatever you were going to have, or drink regular tea instead of sweetened tea. For some of us, that's grueling, right? By the way, I love the sweatshirts over here. They're wearing Battle Ready Coalition sweatshirts. I love this. They're original. Those are founding member ones. Oh, God bless you. Founding members of the BR Coalition, right here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll explain what that is, because they're all going, what's that? I'll tell you all that in just a moment. But what I'm getting at is find something every day even. Sundays is our mini Easter, right? We celebrate Sunday. So that's when I break out the ice cream at home, right? Throughout the week, it's different. And I'm an ice cream fanatic, right? And I could sit down with half a gallon every night and just go for it, right? All right, so I will temper that. That becomes one of the things I sacrifice. Some of you are big coffee drinkers. I'm a coffee drinker, right? And so sometimes I have to have certain things in the coffee. Rory's laughing because he got me coffee today. And just put a couple of this and that and a little bit. It's like, oh, picky. Okay, right. And then there are days where I really want to do a little fasting and so just drink it black with nothing in it. And that's not me. It's a sacrifice, though. It's a little sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice. What I'm going to be talking about tonight, tomorrow night, and Saturday morning is about training our minds and our hearts and our bodies to behave in a way that simply says, I live a life of being prepared spiritually, naturally, all the time. So prepared that this goes with me everywhere. This is a flashlight. It's a 1500 lumen flashlight, right? Some call it a tactical flashlight. It's just a simple flashlight. It's on me all the time. It's always in the left pocket. And at night, it's sitting on the bed, on the nightstand next to the bed. It's with me all the time. It's a training. It's a preparedness. Nice flashlight in the back. I love to see that. Good job, pal. I like it. Flashlighters, unite. All right. It's a preparedness mindset. It's the same preparedness as I never leave the house ever without carrying with me a blessed rosary or a scapular on my neck. All right? And normally, well, I don't do it when I travel, when I fly, but I can still carry all the time in Texas. And any other state that I can do it in with the reciprocal, I get reciprocal license. Some states are constitutional carry now. Okay? And I don't go anywhere without a firearm, an extra mag, a rosary, a scapular, a flashlight, a pocket knife, and in my vehicle, a bug-out bag. Now, some people think, oh, this guy's a little extreme. Yeah, but if someone comes in the church and I'm carrying, I will be on him like ugly on a gorilla. Does that mean I'm going to shoot him? No. Doesn't mean I'm going to do that. But I'm prepared if in case it gets to that point. Is there anybody in their right mind that saw what happened in Nashville? And doesn't think to yourself, if someone would have been there in the door. How about this? I advocate parking lot. I think with schools and even during Mass, if we had at least 2 men, nothing against you ladies, the intimidation of 2 men, their job is simply to watch the parking lot. They're out there watching. 2-man team watching each other's back. Something bad happens, one can address what's going on, the other one goes and gets back up or is looking for possible secondary attack. Because when that car pulled up and that guy got out, wait, I'm confused anymore. I'm not, honestly, I forget. It was a woman, wasn't it? Transing to a man, according, right? All right, so she gets out of the vehicle. The video cameras see it all. The cameras do you no good if no one's there to do something about it. All they do is show you that it happens. But if there had been a couple people in the parking lot and they see a strange vehicle pull in that they don't recognize, they just start moving over. The person gets out, she had a chest rig on with gear on it. She had 2 rifles and a handgun, not concealing them. Shoots out the windows of the door. Right there, there should have been people right there at that moment. Instead, we hear the heroic story, as tragic as it is. And if anybody sees this video later, don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. Those kids, those 3 9-year-old children and those 3 adults that were killed, horrific and tragic. But instead we're saying, oh, that 9-year-old kid who was pulling the fire alarm to try to alert everybody, what a hero. Why did that kid have to be in a position to have to do that? Look, State of Washington, Governor Jay Inslee just passed no AR-15 sales or distribution in the state of Washington. And what he said after he signed this was, you may now go out and celebrate in safety, because I'm sure all the bad guys said, oh, can't use this anymore. Put the rifles away. If we're going to do something bad, we have to use a handgun now. Man, the insanity that the bad guys are going to follow any of these laws. Or how about the 10-round magazine thing? I don't know what your Michigan stuff is. I just know you get your Michigan governor. I'm not going to say anything. But I can tell you this. 152 rounds were fired in the Nashville shooting. 152. You You think a magazine at 10 or 5 in some states? Come on. We have turned things so upside down. Now, I advocate Second Amendment. I do. But you know the laws of your state, and you have to abide by them. If that's where you live, sorry, you got to. I'm in Texas. Things are better down there. But I also advocate you must be well trained. And you can't just train once or twice. It's not a one and done deal. When I went and got a concealed carry permit up in Omaha, Nebraska, where I used to live in Nebraska, in Lincoln area, and I went to Omaha, 88 Tactical. The instructor was a retired Green Beret, 25 years. And everybody passed, a couple of them barely. And he said to everybody at the end, you now got yourself a certificate that says you can carry a firearm. What this basically means is that you can now ride a bicycle down your sidewalk with training wheels. That's how good you are. That's all. And then he said, if you want to really be good, you got to keep training. So if you are a gun man, woman, you're a gun person, you got to keep training. And you got to be familiar, you got to know the 4 basic gun rules, and you got to know them better than you know your 10 commandments, because I know a lot of people don't know the 10 commandments that well. I've tested people on it forever. I've done this where I've said to teenagers, I don't do it to adults, but I said to teenagers, I'll give you $20 if you can stand up and recite the 10 commandments for me, backwards, from 10 to 1, first the even number, and then the odd, in 30 seconds or less. Less than 1% of people get it right. Right? The record was a 15-year-old girl did it in 14 seconds. It was my daughter. It was my daughter. So my point is, 4 basic gun rules. Treat every single gun like it's always loaded. No matter what, you treat it like it's always loaded. You know what that'll do? That'll prevent 99% of accidents. Number 2, you never wave muzzle or flag. You always know where that muzzle is, and you never wave it in front of somebody. Go, oh, check out my gun, man. You just don't do that. You always have the muzzle down in a position that is not going to harm anybody if, in fact, the gun is loaded and if, in fact, it goes off. Number 3, you never put your finger inside the trigger guard, the metal that guards the trigger. You never put it in the trigger guard until you are on the target and you are ready to shoot it and pull that trigger. And number 4, you always know what you're shooting at and what is beyond and around your target, because you might miss. Or it might go through and hit what's behind. So in a home invasion, for example, you all got a firearm, somebody's got a firearm, right? Someone breaks in the house, it's nighttime, grab the gun. Okay, I can't see anything, then you can't shoot. So you got to have a weapon light on that pistol or that AR or that shotgun, whatever you got, or you got to have a flashlight, right, on hand, so you can turn that on and you can then be seeing what's going on as you're moving through the house. You cannot pull the trigger on a target you can't identify. And the rounds that you use, full metal jacket compared to ballistic, hollow point, big difference there. Full metal jacket will go through one wall, through another wall, potentially out the house and into the neighbor's house. They can, depending on the thickness of the walls and what the walls are made of, brick to just sheetrock and siding. Ballistic rounds flatten. They're hollow point. Critical defense, ballistic, home defense, they have different names. It's the same type of round. The tip is hollowed out a bit. Sometimes there's a plastic piece in there which dissolves the moment on impact, but it hits and it starts to flatten, which slows down the round. So if you've got kids in the next room, or family members of any kind, and you don't want them to get hurt, obviously, but the bad guy's right there and the bad guy's raging down on you, you got to fire. That round, if it's full metal jacket, might go through the bad guy, through the wall, and hit your family member. These are things to think about. These are things you've got to get trained on. Now, I talk about that a little bit because I want you to know where I stand on this stuff. I believe in the right to defend and protect ourselves, but you got to be well trained. That's a form of preparedness. That's a form of being a prepper. I'm prepped when I carry. I have the right rounds in my gun, and I have hopefully, and I'm not taking it for granted. I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, I'm ready for anything. I hope and pray I am. But I've trained with Secret Service guys, ex-Ranger, law enforcement guys that just been in the field. One of my buddies, 32 years, EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, a master chief, expert in nuclear biological weapons, been on many combat tours. I mean, the things he said to me to make me wake up to the reality of certain things, a friend just shouldn't say to another friend. But it works. He did a self-defense training with me once, and he stood in front of me. We did this thing where we're standing, feet 80-20 stance. I'll talk about that later. And we're standing there, his foot's inside my foot here, and it's just a slap drill. So you're just slapping, no kicks, you can't move the foot, and it's just speed drill, right? And he kept saying to me, don't drop your guard, Doug. Okay, and he's getting the best of me because he's just faster, he's better. 10th degree black belt, Krav Maga, all this stuff. I've taken martial arts, but not like this guy has. And he's getting shots on me, and he kept saying, don't drop your guard, don't drop your guard. Had me say it, don't drop your guard. Had me yell it, don't drop your guard. No matter what, don't drop your guard. And then he steps back 5 feet from me. He puts his arms down and he says, I want to show you something. What do you think I did? I dropped my guard. He was 5 feet away from me. He can't even reach me at 5 feet. I'm thinking, I'm good. So I said, yeah, what do you want to teach me, Chuck? And he starts walking up slowly with his hands doing this. No matter what, Doug, no matter what, don't you ever whack. And he hit me in the eye with his finger. Drop your guard. Don't you ever drop your guard. My reaction, oh man! I said, what was that? He did this when I was 20 years old. I'm now 58. I have not forgotten this. He said, that's the best lessons I can ever teach you. I said, yeah, I see. Yeah, just not out of this eye. Yeah. I said, what is the lesson? He said, you will think that the battle is over. You will think there's no threat. And that's oftentimes when it will happen, because the bad guy always has the advantage of knowing when they're going to pull the ambush. So does the devil. You ever walk out of the confessional? Yeah, I got this. Walk into the car, strutting, yeah. Get in the car, turn right, intersection, turn left, someone cuts you off. I can't believe you! And oh, I just made some hand signal. Oh my goodness. I guess I'm going back to confession. But we walk out, we think we're good. And no, you got to keep your head on a swivel. Spiritually and naturally, you got to be looking all times. Now, God bless Chuck for teaching me that. What we did after that is he said, okay, so my eye, I could really, it was like, oh, I can barely see out of it, right? He stood right in front of me and he said, now I want you to tell me, he said, when you see my hand coming towards your face. So this eye, it's pretty much closed now because it's just watering and messy. And he brings it up, and I didn't see it till it was like right here. Okay? He said, okay, now with the other eye, tell me when you can see my hand start to move. Right here. Right down here. He said, what does that teach you? All it takes is to get poked in the eye, and that half of you is out of the fight. Now you apply that to anything and everything in your life, spiritually and naturally. Physical crisis happens. Power grid goes down. Water treatment plant shut off. You might have 5-gallon containers of beans and rice, but you didn't save water. And you turn the faucet and nothing's coming out. You've just been poked in the eye. Because now you can't even cook the beans and the rice. You'll be eating them cold and that's rough, right? Because you have no water. You get poked in the eye by not having medical, not having shelter if all of a sudden your home is compromised and you have to go somewhere else. I'm going to break all this down in great detail on Saturday morning, but address a little bit of it tonight. Defense. You're hungry. You're cold. Your roof is leaking and rain is coming in. Right? So you could use some food. You could use some shelter. And let's add to it, you've got a cut in your arm and you're bleeding reasonably well. Oh, you're bleeding and you're cold and you're hungry. And then a bad guy attacks you. What's the most important thing on your list right now? The bad guy. The bad guy's maybe he's trying to choke you. Maybe you're hurt. Maybe your leg's been shot, but your wife and your daughter here are about to be harmed. You're cold, you're hungry, you've been shot, but the bad guy's coming at you. Your first thought isn't, oh, bad guy, let me get something to eat first because I can't fight on an empty stomach. No, prioritize these things. It's easy to get poked in the eye in one of these 5 main categories: food, water, shelter, medical, and defense. We've got to be looking at all of them. And there's a breakdown that comes from each of those as well. What I'll do at this point is I want to mention the website, brcoalition.com. If anybody hasn't gone out there yet, please write this one down. Type it into your phone, text your husband or your wife so you can have it on your text, whatever. brcoalition.com. We have 2 things on there that we focus on. One is an online monthly training. People sign up. I think it's $25 a month is all it is. I'm not sure what it is now. The people that are running that part of it, I don't have a lot of control over, they tell me. I think that they're going to bump the price soon. I don't know for sure. But what it is every month we put out a training video. It addresses one or several of these things I'm talking about and more. And it's me talking basically. And then we break down certain things. It's kind of like a coaching, training sort of thing, body, mind, and soul. brcoalition.com. The other thing we offer there is what we call the BREP course, B-R-E-P. Tomorrow night or Saturday morning, I'll have a t-shirt that says Brepper. All right, instead of prepper, I'm a brepper. Battle ready or be ready emergency preparedness course. This is a one-time buy, and it has hours, 5-6 hours of videos. You can watch the 10-minute here, the 5-minute here, or the hour here. There's workbooks, there's links to all these different things we're talking about, all the way down to flashlights. All right, so you can actually go there, watch the video, click the link, and know what we recommend or what we've tested. Or just take it as an example and go off and get your own. But it's the idea is we're trying to help people integrate the idea of being better prepared spiritually and naturally. Spiritually, for example, we talk about the importance of praying the rosary, getting to confession, making visits of adoration, getting some fasting in. If we start doing this, what it brings is something called, this is how we started to put it lately, the difference of friction versus flow. Friction and flow. If your life has friction in it, you're not going to get certain things accomplished. If it flows well, you'll get things accomplished better. Here's a study that they did at, I forget what it was, Google or someplace, somewhere, major company. Years ago, they had a big bowl of M&Ms. And it was right in the middle of the lobby area where people who worked there were going by all the time. And they were going through a lot of M&Ms because you just walk through and you'd go whoosh, whoosh, and keep moving. And so they wanted to do a little test, or they wanted to cut back on how much they were spending on M&Ms, or both, and they put a lid on it. They just put a lid on the bowl. And it reduced the use of how many M&Ms were going through by like 70%. It was some major number. Because all they needed to do was create a little more friction. Someone then had to stop, take the lid off, grab a handful, put the lid back on, and people weren't willing to do that so much. So let's say you need to exercise more. And you got a treadmill or an exercise bike in your house somewhere. And that treadmill or exercise bike has become, I don't know, a clothes hanger. Friction. Oh, I should exercise. I know, I'm going to get up and, yeah, but then I got to take everything off of it first. Right? And that alone will keep you from getting the job done. Am I right? Oh yeah, you know it. So my third stall in my garage is my weight room. I've been investing in this since I was, no joke. I'm sorry, did that sound like Joe Biden? No joke. Anyway, come on, man. I'm sorry. I'm not. Oh, that was cruel. I'm not making fun of him. I'm not. I didn't mean to. I do pray for the president every day. I do in my rosary. All of our leaders. But I am not joking around with you when I tell you that I've been investing in weightlifting and training sort of things since I was 12. Okay, my sister, God bless her, I wanted to lift weights, and I was a skinny little runt, 12 years old, and she went and bought me from Kmart, right, the 110-pound plaster weight set. All right, plaster-filled, plastic plates with a hollow bar. She gave me the bar, which weighed all of 3 pounds, maybe, and 2 10-pound little disc plates. And she said, when you learn how to lift and you show me you know how, she's 10 years older than me, I will give you more weight. But only when I know that you know what you're doing. And so I learned. And I've been working out since then. Now at 58, I've maintained a lot of that strength. I got into competitive powerlifting when I was younger and so forth. But it all started with this idea that I want to invest in something so that years later I'll still have it. So in my garage, I got a variety of weight equipment, and it's not expensive, fancy stuff. It's stuff that I've accumulated over the last 46 years. But I have created a flow in there. Like no boxes, no gardening tools, nothing goes on that side. Right? And my wife is very respectful of that too. She's big into gardening, and she has her section, and we created a flow for her with a section of shelving that's just for that. If anybody's into gardening, you walk out to garden, you go, where is that one thing? Honey, do you know where that thing is? I don't know where that thing is. You spend 20 minutes looking for the thing, and you'd end up spending time in the garden. It could be anything at all. Tools, where's that one? Oh, where's my level? I could use Father's pen level, okay? We spend time wasting time on the friction part. We'll do it spiritually, we'll do it naturally. You've got to change that and make it flow. And so we recommend, we do this with the coaching that we do with the monthly training, is how do we help people? We can give you all different ideas and work with how do you create a flow so that you're physically, spiritually better prepared and better shape and all that. When it comes to food and supplements and so forth, anybody who's spent any time preparing food for long term, like I'll open the refrigerator, it's just take a lot of work to pull that out and warm that up. That's just too much work. I know, I'll grab a bag of chips. I mean, there are people that just do that because the chips are easy. Just take the chip clip off and start plowing through them, right? And so that flow makes it easier for you to eat those chips. But if you've got food prepared that's healthy and you do a batch preparation, right, where you don't have to cook just one meal, you cook a bunch of stuff, get it ready to go, and then you just pull it out and you heat it up, or stuff that you can eat cold that's healthy. In other words, what you're doing is you're creating actionable steps that make things flow better so you can get the mission accomplished. That is so critical, especially right now. A lot of people won't do any prepping because they're afraid they don't know where to start. That's why we created the BREP, Be Ready Emergency Preparedness course, BREP. BREP was created to help people integrate and make it simpler. I don't have a room of gear and equipment. I don't. I have gear and equipment here and there in various places. Do I have a lot of equipment, gear, and such? Oh, thank you. She brought me a bottle of water. I wasn't sure she was going to throw it at me, or she was nice enough to hand it. Thank you, ma'am. I had one over here and I haven't gone to it, but we'll go with this. This is a little colder. So, people don't want to go buy the gear and equipment because the flow of figuring it out and purchasing it and how to use it is complicated for some. I pull out a flashlight. You're like, well, where did you get that? Well, if I told you, would you go out there right away and get it? Well, which one should I get? Because there's like 18 of them on the website. All right, well, I'll just go to Walmart and get one there. Well, where's the flashlight department? Well, it's probably back in the electronics. No, that's computers and things. What's over here in the camping stuff is, oh, where's the flash? And those little steps right there, it's like the lid on the M&M jar. Some people just won't do it. It simply won't. All right, freeze-drying food, dehydrating food. Anybody do freeze-drying or dehydrating? Okay, some do, all right. All right. It's a rare thing. Canning is another one. Some people, it's an old art. It's an important thing. All right. So a lot of people won't do canning. My wife has done that. She's worked through that process. She's done freeze drying. She's done dehydrating and all that sort of thing. And we find the things that flow the best and then work on that. At the very least, when you go to the grocery store, and I'll get into much more detail on this on Saturday morning, at the very least, buy a couple extra cans of different things and put them in a place that is set apart as, call it survival food, call it backup food, call it desperation, whatever you want to call it. It just goes here and no one touches it. And then rotate your dates, watch your dates on the expiration dates on the cans and all. But at least do that. And then make sure you have non-electric can openers. Okay? People don't think about that. Right? You got to get the crank ones, the hand ones, right? Because if the grid goes down and power goes out and you don't have any backup power, I can't get the can open, right? Using a big old hunting knife, you know. Oh, now I cut my hand. Oh, I should have paid attention to the part about getting medical equipment because now I'm bleeding out. You can see these things just become a problem if we don't take the steps to be better prepared. We have thought through this. We do it for a living. We've done it for a long time. And the main thing we've tried to do is incorporate it and integrate it into our Catholic faith. Because in the Catholic world of evangelization, and trust me, I've been doing this for a long time, there's really nobody else doing this sort of thing. And that's not a pat on the back. It's not what I'm doing. I wish 100 more people were doing it. I wish other Catholic speakers were doing this. Because face it, what does Jesus say in Matthew chapter 25? When it comes to the Son of Man comes in the glory of all the angels, sits on his throne and assembles all the nations. Goats and sheep are separated out. Goats are going to hell, sheep are going to heaven. This is pretty much what he says. I'm paraphrasing for sake of time. Why do the goats go to hell and the sheep go to heaven? Sheep go to heaven because when you saw me hungry, you fed me. Thirsty, you gave me drink. You clothed me when I was naked, gave me shelter. In other words, you cared for my physical needs. They're called corporal works of mercy. Goats, you didn't do that. When, Lord? When you didn't do the least of my brothers. And that includes everybody, not just your wife, your kids, your husband. It includes the guy down the street. If you got a major storm that hits and all of a sudden, boom, power is out and no one can get in or out. We had Snowmageddon in Texas. All right? Now, it's funny to a degree, except the infrastructure is not built for it. Now, I'm from Nebraska, so I'm used to it. I got a Jeep, four-wheel drive, got the right tires, and I was plowing through. Hey, guys, talk about flow. I had no problem flowing down the road, right? Because I got the Jeep, and I've been driving in the snow for years in the sub-zero conditions, and they had it 6 degrees was the coldest it got. I know Michigan and Minnesota, Nebraska, North Dakota, we're used to that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can get sub-zero conditions, but down there, they have no insulation for that. So they had over 200 pipes burst in the ground. So water mains were broken, power was down, people had no running water for a while. There were at least a couple hundred people in Texas alone died. And part of the reason was they didn't know how to heat their homes. They didn't have any backup heat when pipelines and things froze and electricity was out, and their electric heaters weren't working, so a lot of them went in the garage and turned on their car. And we would think to ourselves, yeah, but that's a common sense thing, isn't it? Look, it's not for a lot of people. You know what else is a common sense thing? Never point a gun at somebody, no matter what, and people still do it, and then it accidentally goes off. Well, how did that happen? It's common sense, because accidents, which is why they're called accidents, happen. And so some people died, and some people died for other reasons. Some froze to death. It was tragic. They weren't prepared. So the smart thing is to look at those things and learn from them. Now, I went to my neighbor next door, an elderly gentleman. Hey, you need anything? No, we're good. We got the church coming to help us out. Okay, that's great. Protestant church down the street came and helped me. Okay, I called someone across town. You need anything? Yeah, we can use this and that. And I'm plowing with my Jeep through town, being able to help. I was able to help because I had it. I had water, extra food. My refrigerator didn't, when the power went out, we didn't lose any food in the fridge because I pulled out my backup battery station that's solar powered, plugged my fridge into it. Baby, we were cooking. We were fine. Preparation is worth it, because what happens when a crisis happens is you find hope. One of my favorite quotes, we use it in BRC all the time. Hope is found with a plan of action when you're in the face of a crisis. When the fall of man happened, that was a pretty desolate moment if you think about it. We can look back, hindsight 2020, because our Lord has come, we've had the resurrection, we've had redemption. If you go back to that time, I wonder what Adam and Eve were thinking. Oh, we really messed this up. Talk about creating friction for the rest of mankind. We have really messed this up. But what does God do in Genesis chapter 3 specifically, verse 15 specifically? The introduction of the plan of action of redemption when the woman is talked about and her offspring and the crushing of the head of the serpent. This statement in Genesis is God's first revealing of a plan of action to bring hope in the face of the crisis of the fall of man. So we are built for this. So, for example, let's say something happens, whatever, and you can't drive home tonight. You can't, for whatever reason. EMP. Poof. Electromagnetic pulse from a nuclear device exploded several miles or 100 miles in the atmosphere. And yes, that is a real possibility. My friend who is the EOD said, oh yeah, we discussed this. Even at Pentagon levels, they had advised the Pentagon people about this. He said, we looked at every scenario. Yes, it's a very real possibility. Nuclear explosion way up in the heavens. We don't hear it or see it. EMP waves are sent, and a lot of electronics are fried. Not just power outage, fried, gone. Until they're replaced, if they can be. So computer chips in our cars might be poof, fried. And you have to walk home for whatever reason. What do you have on your feet to walk in? How far can you get before your feet start blistering? Maybe you got great shoes on, tennis shoes, that's great, all right? Maybe you don't though. Let's say you're going to mass on Sunday. Ladies, you're wearing your high heels, you got the nice shoes on, right? Guys, we got the dress shoes on, and something happens, civil unrest, breakdown in the streets, and now you got to walk, but all you got on is your dress shoes. So we advocate, I encourage people, make sure you got a good pair of shoes in your car all the time. All the time, in case you got to change them out. Ladies, if you got on a dress and skirt, right, make sure you got a pair of pants. Throw them in the car. Put them in a bug-out bag, emergency bag, put them in the trunk. Have them on hand, ready to go. Obviously, you're Michigan, so you should always in the wintertime have certain things for warmth. In Nebraska, we did too. Not everybody did, but my family did. We would change that out in our bug-out bag, our emergency bag, and we'll talk about that more in detail on Saturday. You put things in that bag that you know you might need in a crisis, therefore you bring hope to the situation. It's a very simple thing. And a lot of times we don't do it, and we don't do it for many reasons. And one of the main reasons, I think, is it's not convenient to take the time to actually do it. And there are people who've told me, Doug, that's just so much work to have to sit down, write out a list of what I might need or should have, and then go to the store and buy it. So do you ever shop for anything that you like clothes? Oh, yeah. Electronics? Oh, yeah. Flat screen TV? Oh, yeah, yeah. We will shop for the things that matter to us. Why these things don't matter to us, I don't know. I just don't know. Except that we a lot of times live in the normalcy bias world. All right, I'm going to do question and answer here in just a little bit here, about wrap this up here for the first night. But I want to address this part about normalcy bias. We live in a normalcy bias world where we just don't think it could ever come to our doorstep. Most of you probably never think you're going to have a home invasion. I hope and pray it never happens. I don't want it to happen to my house either. FBI statistics as of even 10 years ago, you know how often in America, on average, a home invasion takes place? Approximately every 25 seconds. And roughly 30% of the time, someone is home when it happens. And roughly 10% of that time, that someone is seriously harmed or killed. So home invasions happen. How about fires? Fires happen, yeah. Okay, most of us never think it's going to happen to our house, and they don't happen so frequently, but all it takes is one fire that's dealt with and unprepared for, that's not dealt with properly or it is unprepared for, and it can cause loss of life. So batteries and smoke detectors. I know people who say, I don't have a smoke detector, ha ha ha. It's like, I don't think that's funny personally, but they do. Now, by code, a lot of newer houses in the last 20, 30 years or so, the smoke detectors have to be wired in, one on each floor, at least in Nebraska, they're all combined now. So one goes off in the basement or in the first floor, they all go off. All right, I added some extras. They're not that expensive. Fire extinguishers. You should have one in the kitchen, not next to the stove or above the stove, because if it's on fire and you can't get to it, that's a problem. So put it a little bit away from the stove, but close enough, right? That's one thing. I had to use it one time, my house. My wife opens the door. We've been married like 2 years. And I'm out talking to the neighbor in the front yard. Hey, Doug, could you come here for a second? Yeah, I'll be right there. No, I need you right now, sweetheart. Right? Yeah, no, right now. Okay, I'll be right back, Chuck. And I go in, and I walk in, there's smoke coming out of the oven. She'd gone to preheat the oven, and she didn't know that I had left some Tupperware in there from before. I know you're thinking, why did you put Tupperware in the oven, Doug? I was storing it there, that's all. It's like, oh, all right, put it in here. You know? And so smoke's coming out of the oven, and I walk in, whoa, I knew exactly what to do, because I had a fire extinguisher right over here. I pulled that thing out, just cracked that door just a little bit, done. Minimize the problem. Rather than, oh no, call 911, wait, oh, now the oven's melting down. All it takes is a $15 fire extinguisher from a place like Walmart or Lowe's, batteries for your smoke detector, talk to your kids, and for those of us whose kids are out of the house, all mine have moved out now, so I tell my kids, make sure you're talking to your kids, my grandkids, if there's a fire in the house, how to get out of the house, drill it, let them open the windows, let them know what it's like to climb out. If it's second floor, you got to get a ladder thing down, drop the ladder, the rope ladder thing. I did all that for my kids. I let them climb up and down the ladder a couple times very safely. I was right there, you know. I wanted them to experience it so they wouldn't be shocked in the middle of a crisis. If we don't train it and prepare it in advance, the moment something happens, a lot of times we go to desperation mode. When you train it and prepare it in advance, you process it in here, if and when it happens, you are far more likely to deal with it the right way. Tell your kids where to meet outside the house, too. I would tell my kids all the time, there's a fire, let's go, we're all going out here, and I didn't just point to it. I went out there, walked them out, and said, right here, see this? Where we're standing. This is where we meet. If there's a fire and I come out here and one or any of you are not here, I will go back in until I find you. So don't stay in the backyard going, wow, look at that house burn. oh, my dad said, you know, you drill it in them, you train them. Training takes time, it's an investment, but it can save lives. Do you know how often a woman is assaulted in America, according to FBI stats from 10 years or so ago? On average, every 2 minutes. You know who's doing most of the assaulting, right, guys? It's us men. Why are we not teaching our ladies how to defend themselves better? I tell women all the time, you are far less likely to stop a guy like me on 210 pounds, and if I come at you and grab your throat, and I want to hurt you bad, and I'm doing this for emphasis, okay? All right? If I want to hurt you bad, you might have 3 to 5 seconds to do something to stop me before I press my thumbs into your trachea and take you out that fast. That sounds pretty harsh, doesn't it? Yeah, you need to think of it that way, though. I don't ever want to see that happen. And I've had women after talks like where I've done self-defense style talks, and a woman will come up to me later sometimes and just say, that was me. That happened to me. I was assaulted. It was someone I knew. 90% of the time, it's someone you know. So I teach ladies this all the time. Kids too. And even men. Look, if it's 4-on-1 and I don't have my firearm or something else, I'm fighting dirty. All right? I'm not, okay, man, let's go. No. It's going to be dirty because there's 4 of you, 3 of you, 2 of you, and I got to protect my wife, kids, grandkids, somebody else. I'm not taking a chance. While I'm duking it out with you, this guy's coming on the backside and I get cold cocked in the back of the head with a steel pipe or whatever it might be. I'm not going to play that game. But I tell you this, if someone gets close enough to you where their hands are on you, that means you're close enough to them to use your thumbs and your fingers and you gouge his eyes. And when it starts feeling gushy, you keep pushing. Now, normally when I say that part, women sometimes will go, ugh. Men normally go, yeah. Why? Because it's in us men to defend and protect you, ladies. But a lot of that has been forgotten in a lot of men. And then we've been told we're toxically masculine if we talk about these things. Are you kidding me? There's no reason a good, solid Christian man of any denomination should back off on the idea of defending and protecting anybody who's being harmed by someone who's cooperating with evil. Now, there are appropriate and inappropriate ways, absolutely. Someone calls you a name and starts to pound their chest, don't shoot them. That's a little extreme right off the bat. But you can, hey, pal, back off. This posture here says calm down, but I'm standing in a way that says I'm ready to move if I have to, and I can still strike, and I can still engage. I don't jump right in and go, come on, man, because this says I'm ready for the fight. So we like to train in BRC. Let's diffuse it. Let's reduce the risk. Let's minimize the chaos. But I can engage quickly here if I have to. We got to train this up, though. The idea of preparing, and you know what I hear all the time? Sorry, this is one of those things that frustrates me, if you can't tell. People say, Doug, I'm just going to trust Jesus. He'll take care of all of this. You know, we see signs out in East Texas. I don't know if you all got them out here. By the way, I never said y'all until I moved to Texas 4 years ago. And now I'm saying y'all. I don't know if y'all got these signs out here, but down in Texas we have signs that say God is in control. You realize that he's not in control of our free will? He doesn't control the decisions that we make or the decisions that a bad guy makes. We are in control of whether or not I'm going to go buy a flashlight, whether I'm going to pray a rosary, whether I'm going to sprinkle holy water, bless salt in my home, whether I'm going to go to the confessional. Does God want me in the confessional? Yeah. Does he force me? No. Does he control me? No. He also doesn't control the bad guy that decides to do the evil things. And so our job as good people is to try to have the training and the skills to stand up against the bad things in the world, whether it's voting the right way, standing up against school board people that are corrupt, or in any way standing up against entertainment that's destroying us, or standing up against some illegal act that's happening, or physically we need to be ready to protect and defend and engage. I say this too a lot. This is your wife and daughter, right? All right. Let's say, for example, for some reason something happens and you are parted from them. What's your name, my friend?
Ron.
Ron. And you're parted from your name?
Shelley.
Shelley. And?
Sophia.
Sophia. And, no, you're not part of this. Sorry. We're just going down with names, right? Ron, Shelley, Sophia. And Ron, for whatever reason, can't get to Shelley and Sophia. There's been some crisis somewhere and he's across town and for whatever reason he just can't get back. He's an hour away at work or something. Or he's flown somewhere. He can't get home. Now he's concerned. Power grid's down. There's been a cyber attack. Oh, Doug, that would never happen. You mean like the 12 airports that were hit several months ago by a group out of Russia, where simultaneously Hartford in Atlanta, Chicago O'Hare, LaGuardia, and 9 others were hit at the same time. They took over the websites of these 12 major airports in America just to prove they could do it. Or the 14 hospitals that were hacked into by some cyber attack a couple months ago. Yeah, that happened as well. The power grid stations that are getting hit, and local authorities are saying, oh, it's just vandalism. And then I got a buddy who's tied to the Department of Defense. He's a layman. He's not military, but he'll give me information, what he can honestly share without violating any of his code of conduct. And he's told me, Doug, they are testing the perimeter. So something like that happens. Ron can't get home to Shelley or Sophia. Shelley and Sophia, for some reason, way, I don't know, however, end up in my care. Do you feel better knowing that hopefully I'm going to pray for them, I'm going to try to get sacraments to them, I'm going to have water and food for them, and I'll fight to defend them? How do you feel about that, Ron? Very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah, and I'd feel the same way if it was the same with you and you had my wife, my kids, grandkids. In other words, when we prepare with the mindset that one of us might have to trust our lives to someone else, how great if we know we can count on that. If you ladies knew that all the Catholic men in this room right here, in this church, forgive me, in this sacred space, all the Catholic men in this church, or if you're not Catholic, that's great too, all the men in this church had some idea how to protect and defend you, and you were walking through the parking lot later, where is it? Oh, it's over there. I'm not sure where it is. It's over there. Okay. Doesn't matter, Doug. Just tell us what you're saying. Okay. You're walking to the parking lot later, and all of a sudden you scream because 3 bad guys have jumped out at you, and you just go, I need help. And 15 guys come raining down like white on rice, right? Like ugly on a gorilla, right? Like Democrat on Biden. And these 15 guys come in, and they're not just going, hey, pal, you need to stop that. They're coming in, and they're forming a perimeter, and they're ready. Or how about this? Bad guy comes into church while Father's celebrating Mass. I do church security talks and try to give people ideas on how you can handle it. I know you might have a security guard outside, and maybe he's really, really well trained, but there's 3 guys that decide to hit the church, and the first one is, his job is to distract the security guard. And once he's distracted, the other 2 come in. And then it's up to anybody in the pews. But let's say Ron here, and your name? Jim. Jim here, and your name? Mike. These 3 guys were to get up. You don't have to. If you were to why don't you get up for a second? Let's make the point here. Okay, I'm the bad guy coming down the aisle, and they sense it. I'm like, oh, I'm screaming at Father. They stand up, and I want you to stand side by side right here, shoulder to shoulder, 80-20 stance. So your feet are going to be pretty much like this. 80% on your back, of your weight on your back leg, 20 on the front. That way, if I push you, you're less likely to fall over. Get a little more on the back leg, okay? Right? Look at that. He doesn't go down so easily, okay? He doesn't go down so easily. Now, if you stand side by side like this, put your feet like this, and then I bump you, look at that. So, bad guy's coming in, and he's ranting, I can't believe you Catholics, and you don't care about the gender, this and that. And they're coming for Father. They get in the aisle. They get the 80-20. Their hands are up like this. Hey, pal, calm down. This protects your face, because if I come at you, the hand is up there. If your hands are down here, I can get to your face, okay? So your hands are here to protect. Your stance is good. I come in, and I'm going to try to shoot between the gap. You guys just got to close on me. You're going to come around, and you're going to try to get my arms. Do this gently, please. I did this with a group of guys once, because I've done this all the time. 4 guys. They grabbed my wrist. The job was pick me up by ankles and wrists and literally carry me back out. One guy got carried away, spun around, fell on the back of my leg, and tore my ACL. Oh yeah, you should have heard the pop. And I stood up, and of course I'm the instructor at the moment, so I have to make it look good. Okay, that was decent, we're going to try that again. And my son who was there, he's 25, he says, Dad, was that your knee? Yeah, that was my knee. Okay, so let's do this slowly, like 20%. Let's do 10%, okay. So I'm going to come through here. You guys just close the gap. You come around, you grab this arm by the wrist area, because now I can't control it, and you're just the middleman to kind of keep making sure I don't get through. They've contained the situation. Now, how do you honestly, someone say, how do you all feel about this? Yeah, you feel good? And then she hits me in the head with the cane. Let's do it this way. You guys sit back in your pews, and let's do it this way. Father's preaching, I'm upset, I'm coming in, they don't get up. And this is what it looks like. I can't believe you Catholics, you this and this and this. Now 10 of you are going to pull your phones out and record it, you can post it later online. Because that's what they do, right? And then he comes all the way up here and he's screaming at Father, and then someone turns to someone and says, hey, Jim, should we go up there? No, I don't know, Bill. I think Father's got this. He'll blind him with his pen flashlight. Right? I mean, come on. Everybody in the church, you know what you're all thinking? You're thinking, someone do something. Someone's got to do something. It's a moment of panic, right? So when I go to Mass, I always sit at the end of a pew. I try to do it near a door, depending on what the pew situation is when I get to Mass. My wife knows this. We go to communion. If I step out, she goes first. When we go back in, she lets me go in first. She knows I'm at the end of that pew. And the reason is because if someone comes in, and I would always say if it's a terrorist and they're going to yell, Allah Akbar, before they pull their bomb vest, I want to be moving on them before they finish saying Allah. Now, is that like a heroic sort of attitude? No, I think it's a common sense. I call it the King David DNA that's really in all of us men. I don't care how old we are. I don't care how physically capable or incapable we might think we are. There's something in the DNA of men that says, good men, that says, I want to stand up against evil. I'd be 95 years old if I was in a wheelchair. I was at a talk one time, this guy in the front row in a wheelchair. He was a war vet, and he had one leg, and the other leg, of course, was amputated. He's in his chair next to his wife. And I said, I'm willing to bet. I got a little carried away. Some might think this is like no tact. My wife in particular would say that maybe. And I looked down, I said, you sir, if someone broke into your house, tried to hurt your wife, you'd roll over him with that wheelchair, wouldn't you? He goes, oh, damn right I would. I'd roll right in front of him. I'd start kicking him with my other leg. Because it's in us men. Now, I know there are guys out there where that fire has been squelched some. And some of it is society, and some of it is upbringing, and there's other things. But we hear the most amazing stories when something bad happens where you'll see men who will just rise up, and then afterwards, Chuck, why'd you do that? Oh, I don't know, man. Something just happened. It just kind of came out of me. And it's because there's something in him that says, I want to be a good man, and this is a bad thing, and I got to do something about it. It's why a lot of young guys stormed the beaches of Normandy or Iwo Jima or Okinawa or jumped out of perfectly lit airplanes at 13,000 feet to go into combat. It's why men, become firemen and so forth. And I'm not putting ladies down at all, but it's really in men in general. It's in us. We got to train it up, though. And that little thing I just did with these three guys here, imagine that, if all you guys had that. And Father, how good he'd feel knowing, I got a bunch of killers out there. Yeah. Up there, boom, ready with the gun show, ready to go. Right? But what was that? Father's SWAT team, that's it. Yeah, right? This is spiritual warfare activation team or something. This is what we've got to do, though, is we've got to change the mindset. We'll get the question and answer here now, but I just want to say this last thought. More tomorrow on the mindset part and the attitude, but I did cover a little bit of everything tonight, especially that spiritual element. We've got to be spiritually deepening the prayer, calling out for God to have that spiritual dialogue. We've got to be spending time, even if it's 5-10 minutes in adoration, get the confession more frequently, pray that rosary, wear that scapular, do those devotional things. And it's not the same fit for every person regarding devotions. Beautiful St. Padre statue, Padre Pio statue. Love this man. He, even before he died in 1968, they say that he became more somber in some of his preaching because he saw the direction the world was going. Right? Fulton Sheen, same way. Right? We've been warned by the great ones, by the John Paul IIs to the Pope Benedicts, by Mother Teresa, Mother Angelica. We've been warned of the times that we're in, and some of us have lived during the life of some of these people. We know we're in the thick of a battle. But God put us here for a reason, to be the men and the women that would rise up in these times and be the heroes and the saints for the kingdom of heaven, and also for the preservation of life here on earth. All right? I mean, what kind of Christians are we if we just, Jimmy comes in, Dad, I broke my leg. Oh, Jimmy, let's pray. Dad, my leg is bleeding. The bone popped out. I broke it. I'm hurting. Okay, we're going to pray. We're going to trust Jesus. He's going to take care of this. I'm not saying don't trust Jesus. My goodness, of course not. I went out, drove all the way across the state of Nebraska from Lincoln on the east side to the state line, Colorado on the west side, 400 miles one day. Long trip, speaking event out there. I get out of the van, I got a terrible headache. The members of my group, they're unloading the van, and I get out there and I walk up to Father. Father, it's great to be invited. Thanks so much for the chance to be here. I have a terrible headache, Father. I can barely see straight. Do you have any special prayers or blessings? Maybe you're a healing priest that you don't know about. Can you help me? I'm saying this to him, and he does this. He says, okay, hold on, Doug. Okay. I say, ooh, he's got something, right? He goes, oh, the Lord is speaking to me. Whoa, he said that. I said, this is great. And he says, yes, Jesus is telling me to tell you that you need to take an aspirin. He said, don't ever forget, Doug, God normally works through ordinary means. Okay? So for us, it's the same thing. Spiritually speaking, God's not going to drag us in the confessional. God's not going to drag us to adoration. God's not going to force us to fast, force us to read Scripture. Those spiritual pieces of the puzzle we have to choose to do. And then God will pour out the blessing when we do. But on the natural side of just food and water, shelter, and we'll, again, the next night and Saturday, we'll do much more on that. And the self-defense like we did here, that is up to us as well. And God will pour out the graces there too. Some people have said to me, Doug, you must be pretty paranoid and anxious because, number one, my personality is intense, if you can't tell. I get fired up about this stuff, all right? I'm actually, naturally, more of an introvert. And that sounds crazy to some because, Doug, you speak for a living over 30 years all over the place. How can you be an introvert? When I'm done with this, hang out with a small group maybe, go back to the hotel, call my wife, go to the weight room, the fitness center in the hotel, get my workout in, and just kind of be alone, you know? I found a little window today to church, St. Patrick's over there, not too far from the hotel I'm at. I went in and spent some time in adoration. I just want to be alone a lot of times. But when it comes to this stuff, I want to get out and talk because I want to help people. But am I anxious about this stuff? No. Why? Because I got a pretty good idea what I'm going to do. If you are prepared, spiritually and naturally, when a crisis hits, spiritually or naturally, you will handle it so much better. You find yourself in a state of sin or desperation, discouragement of some sort. But you know the confession schedule. You know God's mercy through the priest. You know what to do, take those steps. There's hope in that. Right? And we all find ourselves in some sort of spiritual desolation at some moment or another. You find yourself in a situation where it's dark, the lights go out. Guess where the hope can come from, baby? Right there. You'd be the best friend to everybody in that room. The lights are out. We can't see a thing. Oh, now we can. Yeah. Right? In my bag that I travel with back at the hotel, I got one of those inflatable, small little solar-powered lanterns, right? I keep that with me. You know what I have in this bag here? I carry this bag with me everywhere. Rory was making fun of me earlier today. We're ordering Ave Maria. This, oh, put your bag here. And he's like, no, he carries that everywhere. Because in here, and we'll break this down again more in detail in the next coming days here, but in this bag, oh, my zipper got tagged there. Look at that. All right, we're just going to pull it out this way then. There we go. In this bag, I have, a lot of people don't think about this, an atlas. If the GPS goes down, ladies and gentlemen, I can still start walking home. Yeah, I know it's Texas, but I can start walking, right? You know how many people have no clue how to read a map these days? Everything, we rely on this guy right here, right? Everything is about the phone. If this thing goes down, communication, GPS, a lot of people that have no idea what to do, right? Keep an atlas with you. Keep it in your car. I keep one in my Jeep at home, and I keep one, actually this is the small one, I have a larger one in my bag in the hotel. I'm a big fan of the redundancy rule. 2 is 1, 1 is none. I like 3 or 4. I added that to the redundancy rule. But the idea is, again, you want to make sure that you are covering the basis of even something like how you get from A to B if there's a problem. Drinking water, I just wanted to show this to you. So a couple things you want to take care of if you're on the road and you have to walk any distance is if it starts to rain and you get wet. Wet and cold do not go well when you're trying to get somewhere in a crisis. I got a rain poncho with me. Keep it with me all the time. It's always in here. Keep yourself dry. Helps out. Another thing I keep with me, and this is just the bag I fly with. The bag in my vehicle at home is a whole nother setup because I can put stuff in there like a survival hatchet, survival knife, tarp, tent, paracord, all that kind of stuff. I got paracord in here too, of course. I got a small medical kit right here. This is the kicker right here I love. This is a water filter. This water filter, this is called a Sawyer Mini. And this little piece right here, it comes with a little reservoir, which is fine. It works most of the time. But it comes with this little guy right here. And this is built with the little threads on the end here that it will actually screw onto the top of a lot of these average bottles. This one fits on this bottle, okay? They don't always fit on some of these, but it does sometimes. But the idea is to have a water filter with you. You got a long distance to go. You can, if you're hopefully running water is what you want, a stream of some sort, but it will work in other situations. Strain out the gunk of the water by running the water, pouring it even through a bandana. You get the junky, heavy stuff out, and then that water, if you got another bottle, cut the top off, you know, and you pour it into that, and then this you can screw right onto a separate bottle. I mean, you got a little work with it, but it's a simple way of straining it, filtering it, and then run it through a purifier, and you got drinking water. These are simple things. So am I panicked? No. Do I know it could be hard? Sure, it can for any of us. But when you take simple steps, even having things like a map, a flashlight, paracord, a water filter, these types of things give you hope. Hope is not something to take lightly, ladies and gentlemen. It's something to take very seriously because our world right now is really struggling to keep a sense of hope. And so being better prepared brings hope, not anxiety. There's a difference between the word urgent, which Our Lady has said, it's an urgent time. You read her apparitions, her messages. I mean, why are some of us seeing the sun? Why are some people hearing so many voices inside their heart, like what Peter Herbeck talked about on our podcast? Chaos, confusion, apostasy, rage. This is what he said he heard Jesus tell him. There's a lot of people that are going to be so desperate and so out of sorts, they are going to have no idea what to do. They're going to need you and me to be prepared enough to help bring peace and order. I beg you to take that seriously with whatever degree you decide to take in getting better prepared. Any questions at all? I'll keep the answer short and then we'll wrap it up for the night. But any questions about anything we've talked about? Yes, sir.
Are you going to go back in depth tomorrow or on Saturday about the bag?
Yes. Yes, on Saturday in particular. Tomorrow, well, I'll do a little bit on tomorrow as well. I'll get into a little bit of mindset and a couple other things I didn't do tonight. But then Saturday morning is going to be, we're going to break down all 5 categories of food, water, shelter, medical, and defense, and go into more detail. And this gives you time between now and Saturday. If you have other questions to be thinking about, you can definitely have them ready to go, write them down. But yeah, I'll go into much more detail. You bet. Yes, ma'am. We do. On the website, brcoalition.com, we have a checklist, and our website, our YouTube channel, BR Coalition YouTube channel, we have a few videos out there, preparation, and then we have several videos of podcasts that my son and I do. And in each of them, we have a link for downloads where you can get free downloads for the beginning of preparation, which has some checklist items in it and some other links to other directions to help. So yeah, brcoalition.com and the BR Coalition YouTube channel, and there are links to checklist ideas and just different topics. So, yes. Yes, ma'am. Saturday, as Father mentioned, my flight is late. I'm leaving Detroit like about 6 o'clock in the evening. So I normally tell people I'll stay as long as you're here. And, I think we start at 10 o'clock for the talk on Saturday morning. So at least a couple hours, 2-3 hours, I'll be here into early afternoon. I'm more than willing to help while I'm here. It's like I have nothing else to do. I mean, I'll go hang out at the airport early. That's boring. I'd rather hang out with people and try to help. So, yes, ma'am.
Question.
Sure.
So I'm not a member here, but I am a member, not too far from here. And I've thought a lot, because I have other Catholic friends who are all at different parishes than me, that if we could do something at a parish level, and obviously you who belong to this can do that, but that's really powerful, rather than, being the one person at my church way out, trying to find out who's interested. Is there anything going on like that on a regional basis with Peter or Al or whatever to try and get this sort of thing going in the metro area?
It's funny you brought that up because number one, I would say one of the number one things I will focus on tomorrow night and Saturday is community. If we don't have the community aspect, we are going to be in a world of hurt like we can't imagine. I'll give you one example and then I'll do more answer to that question. There's a piece that I recommend you listen to. Write this down, please. If those of you go to YouTube and look up A Year in Hell. A Year in Hell. It's also been, you could find it with 1 Year in Hell, but A Year in Hell or 1 Year in Hell. Either one you search. You'll find a few different versions. The one I recommend is about 17 and a half minutes long. It's an audio recounting of a man who lived through the Bosnian War. Okay? In there, it's a different man reading the guy's writings, and he's explaining what they had to go through. One of the things he points out is this. When the infrastructure collapsed during the war in Bosnia, which was in the mid-90s, there was genocide going on. It was horrific. They actually had, and I hate to say it this way, but I think it's important to understand how bad things can get. While we were over here in America wondering if, Michael Jordan was going to come out of retirement again and the Bulls were going to win another championship. While that's going on for us, in Bosnia during the war, they had rape camps. That's how bad, that's where man will sink to when he doesn't have accountability. There are two things that keep a society from completely, utterly collapsing. The individual morality of each and every one of us. Our character is based, and we all fail in this, that's why we have the confessional, thanks be to God and priests. Our moral character is really judged largely by what we do when no one sees us. Right? Because we know God's seeing us, but in general, am I the type of man, you the type of woman, ladies, we the type of men and women that will try to do the right thing when no one's looking. The second thing is law and law enforcement. And when law enforcement is removed, like defunding police, we see crime rises. In Bosnia, when this happened, infrastructure was down. They were in such terrible shape. The man says this: if you were alone, you could be the best prepared person in the world, all the guns and ammo, you name it, you were still going to be overtaken. We never looked at more mouths to feed as too much to have to feed. We looked at it as more people to have guns. Because without the community of people who can work on feeding and medical, like I don't know medical very well, I know basic stuff, but I can handle a lot of the defensive stuff, I can handle rebuilding things, I have a construction background. You give me a pile of scrap lumber and metal and a bunch of tools, I'll build something. I will. My wife will wonder why I'm doing it, but I'll do it, right? And then there are people out there who can garden and they can raise cattle and they know how to can food, and there are people who know how to handle medical stuff, and we need the community of people who can do that. And if we don't have that, we'll end up like this guy describes over there, where people armed and had everything, but there were just one or two in the home, and there were groups and gangs, he says, of people in the streets numbering 20, 30, 40. You need community. You have to have it. For all these reasons, defensive measures and skills and support, we have to have people who know how to entertain children when children are stressed. I have a look on my face, people tell me it's a resting angry face. I don't get it, but that's what they tell me. I think I look like a sweet guy sometimes. That's not what people say. But there are people who, they're just jovial people. So when my grandkids come over, Grandpa, and if I look at them, hey, how you doing? Oh, Grandpa's in a bad mood. No, I'm really not. I just look this way. It's the only look I have, right? What's the point, though? There are people who have the skills to get out and entertain the children and sew up the person who's got a big cut. We have to have the community. So that being said, I have a meeting tomorrow with, I forget who is it? Mike Jones, at Ave Maria, to talk to him about the possibility, and maybe you can tell me if you think this is a good idea or not, of having even regular interaction through radio to address certain things on a consistent basis. Maybe once a week we do a 10-minute segment. Or we set up, even what you're saying, where we have regular regional meetings where people know every month or every 2 months or every quarter we're going to have people get together and they're going to know we're going to talk about this and this. And you have resources around you. You already do. Some of you know how to cook and grow and sew up stitches or stitch people up and defense and all this. Some of you already have that. I come in and try to motivate it and get it going, and then hopefully people can start doing the regional things. But if you like that idea of doing like through the radio, do you think that would be a good idea to have that sort of feature on Ave Maria? Okay, all right. So we can tell Mike that tomorrow. The crowd, they cheered roaringly for it. It was overwhelmingly, Yes, sir.
I may be jumping the gun for tomorrow, but is there a way the breakfast course can be set up on a license to a church instead of an individual? And another way of saying the question is, what's the limits? If I have a breakfast class, can I show it to my neighbors? We can all sit in the house?
Sir, we're so strict on the BREP course, you can't even show it to your spouse. No. It's like if you got a family of 5, you got to buy 5 courses. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, in general, we say like 1 per family is kind of the thing we recommend, but look, it's my gig, right? I'm in charge. So I always, and it's funny because the people working for me are like, you can't keep giving stuff away, Dad. Doug, come on, But I tell people, you want to share it with some friends, that's fine. You want to invite some friends over and do something in your home in the evenings or something, that's fine. I'm not opposed to that. We got to get it out. But I like what you're saying. If a parish, we've never thought about it that way, but we could easily set it up if a parish, a father wants to buy the course, and we offer some like a license fee for it, and then you just have it for the whole parish. I think we could do something like that. But the times are so serious, we've got to figure out a way to get this information out. Yeah, there's so much work that goes into it, and the stuff that we have on there, the stuff, the money that's coming in from the course, we're buying things to research and test and run through different tests to make sure that they work. So, but I think we could figure out a way to license it and make it more widespread. Yeah.
The other quick follow-up is, what I saw organized by length of time, like, 3 days, a week, a month, whatever. Do you do any kind of organization inside of Breakfast by severity?
Yeah, we do it based on tiers primarily. And the tiers are like 3-day supply, 3-week supply, 3-month supply, 1 year plus supply. Right. And it's the idea like if you had, we tell people to start, if you've not done any prepping at all, start with 3 days. It's a simple way to get it rolling. Now, some people will jump ahead on some of that, and that's fine. We always recommend get all 5 bases covered: food, water, shelter, medical, and defense for 3 days minimum.
But do you also organize
Then expand it on up.
by disaster? So the nuke disaster is different than a power.
We do, yeah. There are pieces in there that address, if it's a power outage, this is what you're going to have to be concerned about. If there is war, then it could be this. Because if it's a power outage in general, you're not going to be nearly as concerned if it's a temporary outage of civil disobedience. Normally not going to be the case. You get a major natural disaster like Katrina that hit, now you've got a different level of civil unrest. So we do break it down a little bit there. We focus more on the 4 tiers, but we do address individual things. Like in a nuclear situation, you're looking at iodide tablets, and you're looking at having little fallout indicators. You can get little cards even that are simple that have like a little mini Geiger counter type thing on it. So we do address certain things like that. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
In Texas, when you have that storm, did it change after that? Are people more prepared now when going through what they went through? Or
I don't think a lot. No, it's the funniest thing in the world, I think. Because I've been all over the country on this stuff for quite a while, and many people will say, "Oh yeah, that happened. That's really bad." But it's a 1 in 100 year storm, so it probably isn't going to happen again in my lifetime. Until the next 2 weeks go by, yeah. But it's funny. In Texas in general, the people that I interact with and talk with, very few did much. And some of these are friends of mine who hear me talk about this regularly. So Jake, did you get that backup power station yet? Nah, I'm looking into it, but I don't know, Doug. I haven't really pulled the trigger on that one yet. Okay, Jake, when the next power outage? It probably is. I mean, how often does that really happen, Doug? It's a normalcy bias attitude. How many people, do you know people like in Florida or on the coast where hurricanes hit? And they still don't, a lot of them won't go out. Like when Ian hit down in Florida, I got friends down there and they're saying to me, yeah, you'd be surprised how many people, they didn't have gas in their car, they had to rush to the gas stations. And I was actually down there in the Tampa area when Ian was coming in. I had to cancel the trip, half of it. I was supposed to be there for several days. I had to leave early, get to the airport and get out of there. How many people were just, it's probably not going to hit here. It's like in Nebraska, we grew up with tornadoes all the time, right? And people, when the warning would go off, the sirens would go off, my brother went out and stood on the hood of the car and was looking for it. I said, what are you doing? He said, I got to see the funnel cloud. I don't know what it is, but people just, we don't take that stuff seriously sometimes, and I don't know why. I'll tell you a real quick story. I got in a fight. I don't talk about this much ever, but one of the reasons I am the way I am about some of this stuff is I got in a fight when I was 18 years old. I'm not a fighter. Like, I can fight, but I'm not a fighter. I don't pick fights. I try to diffuse them and talk them down because the dumbest things can lead to the most serious injuries, even death. You hear the story of a guy that walks into an Applebee's restaurant. This happened. And some 20-some-year-old kid who was an influencer, he's posting things on social media. And a couple guys came in, recognized him, about the same age, got into a little verbal sort of thing. I don't like what you said about, oh yeah, let's take it outside. They went outside, and I don't forget which one did what, but one pushed the other and hit him one time. The guy went down, hit his head on the curb, and went to the hospital and eventually died. One punch, hit the ground, the guy ends up dying. Stupid behavior. Not stupid person. I don't want to call somebody stupid. The behavior is just, it's idiotic. So I'm not a fighter that way, but I will defend and protect and do it hopefully appropriately the right way. That's the goal. I'm walking out of a teenage dance place, 18 years old. Friend of mine, Teresa, nice young lady. A couple other buddies, Jack and Brian. We're walking out. There's these college guys. I'm a senior in high school. Next door at the Civic Center, we're having a college party. There's 4 of them in the parking lot. A couple of them lean on the car. Hey, man. And they start mouthing off to the girl, my friend. And they're saying really horrible things to her. I mean, foul things. I turn around. Hey, pal, you got a big mouth, man. you stop talking to her that way. What's the matter with you? We start walking away. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, man, this is just, she's a lady, all right? So I walk up to the guy. I was going to talk to him. I did the dumbest thing in the world. I got, say, this close to the guy, and my arms are like this. Come on, man. She's a lady. This guy's leaning on the car with his arms crossed. All of a sudden, boom, complete off guard. Whack, right here. I look back. Before I could complete the sentence, what are you doing? He grabbed my hair. I had it back then. I did. I had longer hair, right? So boom, grabs my hair, boom, to the parking lot. First shot, he smack right into the parking lot. Then he held my head down and just started doing this. And then boom, a second time to the parking lot. And kept going back here. The whole time I'm like stunned by it. My friends over here, Brian and Jack, what are you doing, man? Let go of his hair. Other three guys start to step in and get involved in this, and my friend Jack, who's like 6'3", 225 at the time, puts his hand on the guy's, one guy says, you guys don't want to do this, you stay out of this. And they respected Jack enough. Though Jack didn't do anything, for my sake. Later he would say, well, you kept getting back up. Okay. Couldn't see anything at the time, but so this goes on for a minute. The whole fight lasted a minute. 3 times my head hit the parking lot. One time he pulled up like this, so I'm here, and right into his knee. Boom! And I just saw the blood running out of my nose. It didn't break my nose, I don't know how. Drip, 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 and I said, that's it! And I, boom, came up the middle, hit him, he flew back against the car. Then he jumps on me. I crouched down. I didn't know how to fight very well. I didn't go 80-20 and deal with it. What I did is I did this, and he scratches up my back. He's scratching my, this is savage stuff. This was dirty, crazy stuff. I had no idea what was going on, right? And then I picked him up by the legs. My weight lifted, I was strong enough, and I threw him, and by now we had kind of moved to the back of the car. This is all down the side of a car. I threw him onto the trunk. I said, okay, man, now you upset me. Words to that effect, okay? And he comes at me, and we just kind of locked and started going down, and that fast, 2 bouncers pulled us apart, the bouncers from the teenage dance. The whole thing lasted 60 seconds roughly. I will never forget it, and I will learn from it, and I will encourage from it. There are certain things, number one, that you don't do. You don't walk up and get within striking distance. Okay, first and foremost, you just turn and say, man, I'm going to say a prayer for you. Okay, you're speaking crudely, it's just not right. And you walk away, and you keep your head on a swivel, and you make sure no one's going to jump you, and you protect the lady until you get to the car and let her get out of there safely. All right, that would have been the best thing probably to do. If you're going to say anything, say it in a diffused way. Firmly and strong. Look, pal, you're speaking crudely. It's not right, man. Okay, you want to talk about it? We can talk 10, 15 feet apart from each other. I'm not going to get within striking distance of you. Other things too. But all that in mind, you'd think you'd learn from stuff like that. And you'd think people would learn from disasters. Fires, natural disasters, power outages, baby formula shortages. Oh, yeah. Like this stuff is just all accidental. Food production plants that just go up in flames. 18,000 cattle in the Texas Panhandle about 2 weeks ago or so, all dead from a fire that happened. And there have been several food production plants and so forth that have been hit with airplanes. Not a joke. At least 2 have been hit with like little Cessna airplanes. This sort of stuff is happening. Weird stuff is happening. Our country is not what a lot of people would like to think that it is. We would be, I think, remiss, nice way of putting it, I think we would be foolish to not pay attention to what's going on and respond accordingly to the best of our ability, even in our little corner of the world. And if God allows everything to kind of separate out and start to fall apart, then if He permits that, we simply have to do our job as Christians where we are. My job isn't going to be to travel around the country anymore if there's no way to travel. They're talking about biometric through TSA stuff becoming mandatory. Biometric meaning retina eye scan type stuff. Facial recognition, mandatory. I will not be obligated to put my eyes on those scanners. I'm just not going to do that kind of stuff. We're going to reach a point where we have to simply say, I'm not going to cross that line. And if we're not unified, if we don't have community built up, it's going to be a lot harder. If we are unified, have community built up, and we're prayerful about it, by the grace of God, we can do a lot to minimize the chaos and the craziness of it all. Any other questions? No? Okay. Let's wrap it for, do you have something, sir? Yeah. Yeah, Father Eppinger?
Yeah,
It was on our podcast. Yeah. Yeah, he does say, I don't remember which one. I recommend you go back to our YouTube channel, U.S. Grace Force, look for all the Father Ripperger podcasts. We've only got, I think, 4 or 5 with him. What was it? Was it? Okay, all right. There you go. I didn't even remember that. Was it? Yeah. Yeah, it really does help when you hear someone like a Father Chad Ripperger. And we had Father Carlos Martins on, who's an exorcist. We just had Father Jim Blunt. Anybody know Father Jim Blunt? Okay, we just interviewed him. His comes out next Wednesday. We just interviewed Jonathan Cahn, if anybody's familiar with Jonathan Cahn. And did you like that one? Yeah, he was great. He just wrote a book called Return of the Gods. And he has said essentially the same thing that Father Ripperger says. He focuses on 3 main demons that have come back basically in full force. 7 times, bringing back 7 more demons. And his book, Return of the Gods, small g is what he means, false gods, evil demons. It basically brings up the point that if you want to know what it would look like to have these false demons, these false gods, these demons reappear in full force, it's what you're seeing now. That's how he puts it. But Father Jim Blunt is next week. And Father Jim Blunt, we asked him on the show, and he talked about it. He had a vision 3 times in the same day. He was walking up to a church event, and little teaser for the podcast here, right? It was a great one. He's just a very, very strong preacher. And he says he's walking up to a church and he looks up and he sees the Blessed Mother in the sky, and he stops and looks, and she's beginning to unfurl this black cloth. Okay, and it's unrolling, and it starts to go around the entire earth, and then it moves it a couple degrees over as it keeps going around until the entire earth is blacked out, and he sees the word blackout. And he goes in, gives the retreat, the day, and then he's walking back out. He's still on church grounds, and he looks up and he sees it again, the exact same thing. The short version of the story here. That evening, they drive over to a parishioner's house who was having dinner for them, and he's walking up towards the house, up the driveway, and he looks up and he sees it above the house. And then he doesn't know what this is. This happens about 5 or 6 years ago. Several years go by. And then he says later, someone introduces the idea that COVID might have had something to do with this. And so he thinks about it, prays about it, he takes it to prayer, and he said the Blessed Mother spoke to him in prayer and told him, how many times did you see it? 3 times, Mother. When was the first time? It was above the church. When was the second time? It was also above the church. And the third time? It was above someone's house. The first 2 times have to do with a blackout of the Eucharist. The first one, he believes, was COVID, when churches were shut down, but people had access through technology to go to online mass and such, and a lot of churches, we were even told by bishops to shut down, right? And we were limited on receiving Jesus, weren't we? The second time also, he said, is coming, he believes. And it will be similar again, but a little worse. And then he said on the podcast, did you hear about this new Marsburg virus? I think it's what it's called, a version of Ebola. He said they're talking about this possibly coming out. And then 2 days later, he texted me a link to an article where the CDC is warning us of the Marsburg virus, that this could be deadly. It's like a 50 to 80% mortality if you come down with this. And it's broken out in 2 countries already. And there's no cure for it, they say, until they come up with a new vaccine, I'm sure. Right? He says the third one happened over someone's house, and Our Lady told him, in so many words, that's because the blackout of the Eucharist will eventually reach a point when we won't even have access through online, through telecommunications, as if possibly communications, technology, possibly power could go out. So blackout 3 times, all having to do in one way, shape, or form with the Eucharist, he believes. So that's next week, another pick-me-up sort of podcast to make you feel good. But you know what it should do for us? And I'll close with this. And then, I don't know, Father, if you want to close with the blessing or not, but I would, but it wouldn't have the same meaning. That's a little joke there, right? It's Father's blessing compared to, okay. I'll close with a joke to keep a sense of humor. We have to have a sense of humor in the thick of these things. Remember Thomas More when he went up the steps and he said to the guard, you can help me up these steps, but when they cut my head off and this is over, I want to come down on my own. No one knew, okay, sense of humor. Strange. Now, some say that he actually had grown a long beard at this point, and when he put his head in the block, they say that he moved his beard out of the way, and he said, I may have offended the king, but my beard has done nothing. He didn't want it to get cut when they cut through. Okay, that sets up the best one, and that is St. Lawrence. Early centuries of the church, like 3rd century or so. the emperor said, "Bring me all the riches of the church." And Lawrence had a sense of humor and brought the poor and the marginalized people. And the emperor was not impressed. And so, long story short, eventually Lawrence is convicted and was going to be executed. And the way they executed St. Lawrence, this is all true, is they hung him above a fire like a barbecue. And they cooked him basically to death. And the story is, and this is true, as he's hanging there, he says to the guard, "You can turn me over, I'm done on this side." That's true. But what a lot of people don't know is what Jesus said to Lawrence when Lawrence got to the gates of heaven. Jesus looked at St. Lawrence, who had just died this horrible, cruel death over the fire, and he said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Tomorrow night, bring people.
The Lord be with you.
With your spirit.
May the blessings of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit descend upon you and remain with you forever. Amen.
Amen.
Go in peace.
Thanks be to God.
Tomorrow back here 6:30 and Saturday morning if you can make it.
Hit that basket on the way out.
Yeah.